Please call the roll, please.
Fuller. Present. Mr. Kelly.
Present.
Mr. Coe.
Here.
Mr. Matt.
Here.
Palestrini. Here. And Mr. Robbins. All are present.
Okay, will you guys rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming tonight, everyone. Good evening, Ms. Lyons. Do we have anyone signed up to speak
We
this evening?
do. Dr. Scarpino has signed up.
Nice. You're welcome to the podium, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry to hit my back to you. I don't mean to.
Get one down.
Which she has a good.
Would it make you feel better if we read the rules to you first, or will you keep it in check?
Whatever you want me to do, I'll do.
I'm kidding.
Right?
I feel bad.
No, they always do
Okay.
that.
I'm David Scarpino. I used to live at 187 Barnall Drive, Hampshire, Illinois. I miss living here. Put that on the record. I truly do. I now live in Pingree Grove in a one-story home. I'm sorry. One-story home. So we don't
The guy that lives in Huntley.
Anyway, I'm here for two reasons. One, I'm here as a school board president, and then I'm here just as a private citizen. As a school board president, I wanted to say thank you to this group right here. I appreciate everything you are doing for our school district. You have a safe community. Thank you very much, Chief. I truly appreciate it. If the fire chief were here, I would tell him the same thing. Officers, thank you very much for what you do. We have a police liaison here. It truly means a lot. In addition to that, this is the largest group, the largest geographic area that is growing in our school district. My hope is that originally, remember, I'm from Hampshire. I am hoping that you maintain your presence on the school board. So if you have someone running for the school district here in Hampshire, please get out the vote, because with what is coming down in the district, it could be the location of a middle school, the location. Is that my time?
No.
I'm sorry. No, I apologize. Depending upon where the location of the high school is, or the middle school, or the elementary school. So please, in addition to that, I am not running again. I can talk about this, right? I am not running again. If I do something wrong, you let me know. I'm not running for a 4-year term, but I am willing to do a 2-year term. I got the approval of my better half, but that would need to be a write-in vote. That's a write-in vote. I'm not going to do 4 years. I can't do 4 years anymore. So I want to start off with that. Growing police and fire departments, the fire inspections, the chief, fire chief, everything that you guys do, it means a lot. It really does. Your job is a thankless job. Believe me, I get it. But I appreciate what you have done for the community and for the school district and my kids in this district. It truly means a lot. So I just wanted to tell you that. Okay. Oh, listen, you guys are fantastic. You are. I know you catch a lot of flack and things like that. Believe me, I do too. But this was our home for 20 years. And made a lot of good friends, a lot of great people. And we miss it. We do. We miss it. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Anyone else signed up to speak? Thanks, Matt. Thank you. Before you have the meeting minutes from December 5th, 2024. Please review them at this time. I'd like to thank Trustee Coates for steering the ship in my absence. I haven't watched the video, but normally there's a lot of shaming that I'm not there, so I assume that happened as well.
Nobody missed your mic.
You did miss the singing happy birthday. That's the only thing.
Yes. Yeah. That was not really
Not our best.
Gotta keep it light.
Mr. President, I have just one update, for page 5. It's just a missing letter, but it's a swearing in of our officer, number 6, and it's office. If we could just add the R.
Oh, okay.
Simple, but it's a swearing in of anyone. That's all I had.
Any other changes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the changes to word office. So. Second. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next presentation, you go.
All right. So we have an awards program at the police department, and in the past, there have been officers of the year awarded. It's been a few years, and so we wanted to get that program going again, and we plan on making it an annual event. So we did solicit nominations from internal nominations, and we received 3 officers were nominated out of 5 with 5 nominations, and actually Officer Rudolph was nominated. Officer Haramo was nominated, and Officer Carly Meyer was nominated. So our selection for Officer of the Year this year is Officer Mayer, and so I'm going to read this, and then we'll have a presentation. Officer Carly Mayer exemplifies the highest standards of professionalism and dedication in her role, consistently showing her commitment to excellence, which sets her apart. She handles complex and high-pressure situations with poise and resilience, demonstrating exceptional communication skills and an unwavering focus on public safety. Throughout the year, Officer Mayer has faced numerous challenging circumstances, including critical incidents and high-stress situations. She has approached each with steadfast determination and a calm, focused demeanor. Her ability to overcome diversity while maintaining emotional intelligence and supporting her peers underscores her strength and leadership as an officer. In addition to her daily duties, Officer Mayer has made significant contributions to community engagement. She actively participates in and led initiatives such as National Night Out, Trunk or Treat, Coon Creek Days, and Top on Top, fostering trust and building positive relationships within the community. She has organized tours for Girl Scout troops, visited classrooms to engage with students, initiated a child safety seat installation program, and contributed to the department's Facebook page with exceptional professionalism. Her contributions extend beyond community outreach. She oversees the evidence room, organizes the department Christmas party, and continually seeks professional development by attending various training programs. Her efforts have made her a role model and a vital part of the department's success. Officer Mayer is widely recognized and respected by both her colleagues and the community. Residents frequently praise her ability to connect with people and view her as an outstanding ambassador for the public. Her knowledge of the law, proactive problem solving, and enthusiasm for her work make her an invaluable asset to the New Hampshire Police Department. Knowing for her optimism, leadership, and team-oriented mindset, Officer Mayer inspires those around her. Her exemplary performance over the past year has truly set her apart. She embodies the values of professionalism, resilience, and community service, making her a deserving recipient of the Officer of the Year Award. This is the 2004 or 2024 Officer of the Year is hereby granted to Carly Mayer for her outstanding work and dedication to the Village of Hampshire, awarded by the Village of Hampshire Police Department this 19th day of December 2024. Congratulations.
Oh, you want a speech? You want to give a speech? No.
We have a nice
Oh, thank
acrylic here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Officer of the Year.
You have a special shelf at home where that'll go? Yeah. Isn't that nice?
She's like, it's exciting.
Maybe my man, sure you go.
Oh. Get in. Put in the.
Right.
Really going to be.
Two first. Let's just get those two first and have you guys turn the name for them. I used to have one. Right, here's what I jump in. Where's your mom today? I do. All right, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, your fault. Hopefully you can take that three. This is.
Well, when you open it, it might start.
That carbonated one. And
It looks like it is.
here, we can scoot. I see it here.
It's good, it's slippery out.
Ready?
No, you're right.
I asked her if she had a special shelf that was put that on. Huh?
Nice job.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations, you deserve it. I told her I still have the pictures that she took when our car got smashed over at the video on my phone. Mommy.
Yeah, I didn't understand it.
Oh, okay.
Translation is.
Must be the translation.
James, we should continue.
All right.
I didn't say anything. I didn't know she knew. Oh, yeah.
They're busy going.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hedges, is something yours from here?
This time we would ask your consideration of an ordinance to be a text amendment to section 261 and section 261 and 271 of the Hampshire Municipal Code regarding inclement weather parking rules. You have on page 11 of your packet, the agenda supplement from Mr. Khan. And this is something that Dave brought up himself. I think we've talked about it at the board level yet. But we're actually proposing to remove the winter ban and go to more of an event ban, effective immediately. So Doug, if you could explain a little bit more.
Sure, I think it was Dave that come forward and part of, and his big observation was that with the 2-inch rule and the overnight parking ban, the 2-inch rule was good, but then what would happen would be, they would have cars that were parked on the street all the way up till till 6 p.m., but then, or I'm sorry, till 1 a.m. And if there was, 1-inch snow event, all those cars would get plowed in or driven around for that 1-inch snow. And if it continued over and over again, you'd end up with a buildup and they'd still have problems cleaning the streets. And then, we also, it's one of the biggest violations that we have in the community, and we get a lot of complaints about the overnight parking ban, all the way from from November to April. Between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. And so we thought we would just propose a more, I guess, useful ordinance that just says if there's any snow or ice event, that there's prohibited parking until the snow or ice is cleared. We'll have to do a good job of getting ahead of that with communication. When the snow events come, we'll get signs posted right away and do a little information campaign about the change in the ordinance. And, there's a lot of our subdivisions now, as you've talked about, there's limited parking. There are some subdivisions with really short driveways where they don't have a lot of space for cars. And so I think that's where we get a lot of our complaints or a lot of the hardship on the community because of that overnight ban. So, we agreed to it. Dave has agreed to it and endorsed it. And like Jay said, it was even his idea really to bring it forward because of this problem with the 1-inch snows. And always having the cars on the street during the daytime, where this way it'll even ban on-street parking during the daytime. There will be I think a little bit more work for us, especially in the beginning as people become accustomed to it. But the ordinance, it allows us to have some teeth behind going and asking someone to move their car in the middle of the afternoon for a snow event. And we're more than willing to work with the streets department. We do all the time anyways on these events to make sure that people are getting them moved and getting them off the street. There is a relocation provision in the ordinance that would be, used with discretion. And that wouldn't include towing cars to, all the way to the tow garage and having all of the fees imposed. It would be a relocation, which is not a popular thing to do, but it's better than paying, a couple $100 to get your car out. It would just be the price of the tow itself. If they were in violation and we couldn't get them in the car. But like I said, that would be we would definitely use discretion on that. And, we talked about having Dave come tonight, but the important thing I think was that
Dave's driving a plow right now.
he's driving a plow and he does endorse this. It was actually his idea to avoid those middle of the day snows where there's just, under 2 inches and they still have a problem.
Let me just add that this is almost identical to the Captain Hills ordinance. That's where Dave heard about it from the public works.
We've talked about this at this board level and then among staff for years about how we kind of adjust parking regulations so that they make sense, but then give Public Works the tools that they need to have done. I mean, we've talked about like systems where we would declare snow emergencies and that kind of thing. And there's no effective way to get the word out. I guess that's my biggest concern in changing this. Not that I don't support this, but my biggest concern is how are we planning to communicate this with our residents? And then what qualifies as a snow and ice event? Because you think it's pretty simple, right? Like snow and ice or whatever. But, what if it's one of these things where it's raining and then it freezes because the temperatures drop in the middle of the day? It was something that wasn't planned, weather's goopy. And then when the salt trucks are out, is everybody in danger then of getting a ticket for something that nobody understood? Now, granted, forecasting and weather's come a long way. That doesn't happen very often, but that kind of stuff does still happen. Or does that come back to the discretion of, we knew it wasn't really going to be this way today, and so we're going to.
Let me just answer your first question first, and then I'll Doug answer it. We will be posting signs soon. I think Dave's already got them on order or posted. He'll have them probably up within a week. So that'll be the main notification because everybody going home, they see those signs, then they'll see the difference. We're pretty confident of that. But we'll also be doing some social media posting. All that.
And
I will say that you've been on the board longer than anybody. We fought for how many years to get to this point?
No.
If there's 1 inch of snow or less, they ain't plowing. They're salting. They're not plowing. Let's get that fact. That's a fact. They don't plow. They salt. So this 1 inch doesn't mean anything. I think this is wrong. We're moving backwards. We have fought so many years to get to the point where we're at, to turn around now and change it after everybody's been dialed in over the years. I think we're doing this wrong.
I think one thing that I didn't mention too is that Dave said that the way that he schedules in the past before he was here, they would run 24 hours. And he gives breaks to his staff. And so the 1 to 6 really doesn't benefit them the way that they schedule.
No, they used to run all the time. And so they would get the cars off the street in the middle of the night. And that's when they would go out and plow. But then nobody would be at Public Works the next day, cleaning up. And so now what they try to do is they try to do all snow operations during the daylight hours till about 10, 11 o'clock, depending. And then they send almost everybody home. Someone will be in a truck to do intersection work and stuff like that, but they try to send everybody home overnight. And so that's where I understand where they're coming from as far as that 1 to 6 doesn't really do a whole lot because they're in bed just like everybody else is.
This is going to be confusing, and it's going to take 5 years for the people to get readjusted after 10 years of where they're at now. It's to take 5 years. There's going to be a lot of complaints because cops are going to be out writing tickets, and people ain't used to it, haven't heard it, whatever. And we're in for a world of problems for a few years.
We will do warnings initially, I think.
What are the signs gonna say that you're talking about they're gonna put out?
I don't have the exact language in front of me. I apologize for that. Essentially, to say what the ordinance says and not so many words. Well, in a few words, say what a snow event is, and after any snow event, there's no parking in the street, on the street,
After any snow events.
Snow or ice.
as defined in the ordinance.
Snow or ice, period.
We do have an app that we can use to push it. And I think this would be an ideal use of that if we are making a change. And not just notifying people that we're gonna have signs, because they're not gonna see the signs if it's snowing or icing or anything else, because they're paying attention to the road. Not signs, so looking for, kids, other cars, etc., but letting people know, hey, this is a snow event, no more parking would be a super helpful way. We have the tool. Does not cost us anything.
Each time there's an event.
Each time there's an event, I would be so thankful to get that notification. And it would mean that I can tell my family who maybe they don't have the app, but I have 3 vehicles in our family right now. And yes, they're usually in the driveway, but they might have company over and their company. So letting the people who live in the household know, and they can tell their company, or maybe it's the babysitter, or maybe it's, family visiting from the town. They would not know unless we told them that, hey, this is a qualifying snow event. Move your vehicles off the street. And it's not gonna cost us anything more, right? Doesn't cost us anything to broadcast on our app.
No, not at all.
Okay,
We can certainly do that.
cost effective and it's, direct communication.
Question again, who is the entity or the body that's gonna do the controlling of the announcements to when this goes in and out of effect?
Each time it happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Events are gonna happen.
That's as defined in weeks. The sign will say when you're not allowed to park on the street. The sign, and by the way, we wouldn't expect that we read it during the storm.
No, but
Every day they come in and out of the neighborhood, they're gonna see it.
People are blind to those.
Yeah.
We have they are posted and they're right there for everybody to see. But we're more in tune to that kind of stuff, but I can't tell we have signs at the beginning of our subdivision. That's.
Yeah, we do. That's where.
No, I'm saying that's what people say in general. I mean, we, the village, do a really good job of posting those types of signs. But unfortunately, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody watching, but our residents don't do a really good job about reading them.
they have other concerns,
Why are we gonna eliminate the overnight parking?
so.
It just doesn't feel it's helping them at all.
If he's not out at night,
There's a lot of, the majority of the winter nights, you're not allowed on the street and there's no reason for you not to be on the street is the point. I think in the end, our residents really appreciate the fact that 90% of the time they won't have to get the car to the driveway. So like they do now.
I just think the police department has worked so hard in the 8 years that I've been here to get to that point, to change it, I think is not the right thing to do.
I'll just add one more comment and then I'll stay out of this because it is certainly a policy decision. I do know that Dave feels strongly about it. I wish he was here, but he couldn't be. But I'm going to defer to Trustee Kelly because I think I was going to say.
If it comes back, let me know. I'll stop. For me, this is 2 different topics, and I have 2 different feelings on it. One topic is the removal of the overnight parking ban. I think that's good for residents. If it's not making a big difference to the streets department, which was the intent, my understanding of the overnight ban, removing that makes sense to me. It's not fulfilling the purpose of what it was for. That we shouldn't stop people from parking on the streets, especially in some of the neighborhoods where they just, like the Lakewood Crossing example, or Lakewood example. The one for the snow part, it is defined in 2-7-1 of what a snow event is, and it defines the snow event as there's a publicly broadcast U.S. Weather Service snow or ice forecast, and the snow or ice has started to fall while the snow, ice, sleet, or freezing rain is falling, and as long as the snow, ice, or sleet remains on the pavement. That's what they're defining. So it can be a dusting, and it's considered a snow event. And so I guess where I am on that half of the conversation is I do think we need to define at what point or how much snow somebody needs to remove their cars. Because to what Trustee Coates was saying, if it's under a certain amount, they're going to salt, they're not plowing. A car parked on the street isn't going to prevent somebody from being able to salt because the salt spreads when it hits the ground. But at some point they have to plow and they need to have the clear streets to be able to plow. So that I understand as well. And I wonder if there needs to be that
That
clear
was the
cut
2-inch rule, and that's where Dave's concerned, because he said, if it's 1.5 inches, I'm still gonna be plowing, but the people don't know that it's 1.5 inches instead of 2. Can't go up with a measuring tape and determine 2 inches.
Yeah.
But right now with the signs out, every resident knows that if snow's coming down, you're gonna get your car towed or ticketed, get off the street.
Yeah, they're well educated now, you're right, because every once in a while they call and ask for an exception.
So I just think they're two separate things. But
May I ask a follow-up question? I think somebody had asked who makes that determination. I think it was trustee Mott, but then what is the determination? Is it 1 inch or is there a specific number, or is it just when they're looking at the conditions and go, oh, it's gonna go?
Actually, it's exactly what
That's what
Trustee
Trustee
Kelly
Kelly
did.
But I understand that, but I'm asking in the practical sense, what is the decision-making factor? Not what's in the ordinance, but how do our streets people decide?
Based on the National Weather Service. I can't remember which
it
one.
says the national
Well,
weather,
Dave-
the US weather, US
Dave
weather.
goes out and drives.
Okay,
So Dave goes out and drives. The police department's out all the time.
Okay.
So they are very watchful and pick up the
Right.
phone if they notice intersections are getting slick or roads
Okay.
are getting slick. They'll call Dave, Dave will go out.
so it's not a specific measurement, it's when in their educated, opinions, this is becoming hazardous and it's time to go do this.
Right.
Okay, so would we amend the ordinance to add that piece, because that piece isn't in there? Something that says when the village determines it's necessary.
I think what we're trying to avoid is just that. We're trying to defer to the National Weather Service, what they say, so anybody can hear that on the radio, any news channel, or they get a warning sometimes. So that's what we're trying to avoid, is that having our staff to make that decision. We're letting the National Weather Service make the decision.
Do we know what the current sign says? Because I believe on the current sign,
2-inch snow.
2 inch.
2-inch snowfall, day or night.
That's
So
correct.
during the daytime, if it's snowing, you can't park on the street.
That's correct. Right. But only up to 2.
So we already have that. So why do we want to
So,
change? it?
so I guess the question then becomes to maybe find in the middle ground here. Let's take that 2-inch snow away and turn it into every snow event and leave the overnight parking ban. That gives everybody what they want, and it doesn't,
Why would you leave the
It
overnight?
just
part?
doesn't, I mean. our
well, no,
residents-
what I'm saying is that's the only other, what I'm suggesting is that's the only other compromise here. It's either we rip it away, right, and go a different direction, which was what we're discussing, or the 2 inches is the problem for Dave during the day, because they don't know if it's 1.5 inches or.
Doesn't matter, it's marked on the sign now.
No, I understand that, but Dave, our staff is saying that he is having trouble because sometimes it snows 1.5 inches and they have to plow and there are cars on the street in this. That's the problem that this ordinance attempts to address for our streets department, while giving the residents the flexibility to park in front of their house every other night that it's not snowing. So I understand why there will be confusion. I understand all of that. So I guess what are we trying to decide here? We either leave it as it is, which is impacting our operations. Okay, we should put this one in where it's any snow event, any time of day, period. But if there's nothing going on, you could park there. Okay, that's the easy way to describe it. Or you merge the two and say, take the 2-inch rule away from any time you can park during the street during the day, and change it to any snow event. So if it's snowing during the day, you can't park on the street. Or, by the way, you still can't park at night for no reason.
What is the definition of overnight?
1 a.m. to 6 a.m.
They're
Plenty of people do.
they've got 2 hours, maybe 3 in by 6 a.m. So the overnight doesn't help them now.
That's why he's saying we should remove it, because it doesn't make a difference in their operation. and we should let the
Yeah,
residents.
Dave
park.
thought it was more, that's more of just an inconvenience for
Yeah.
the residents than it helps him.
I mean, we
So-
get complaints all the time about overnight parking, you know, people having guests in from out of town with smaller driveways. That neighborhood up in Lakewood with a single car with driveways with single car garages and no basements.
Yeah, but all they gotta do is call the police department and say, hey, I got relatives in.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, if they call ahead of time, enough ahead of time, we'll usually give a pass on it, depending on what they're talking about, but we don't always give passes on it. We certainly don't if it's last minute, you know. We get those phone calls at the last minute. It's I mean, it's somewhat subjective, but we
We've never
generally don't give exceptions.
Let's put it this way, we've never had an official process for allowing overnight parking for individualized circumstances.
Right.
That's not within our current ordinances.
May I interject a comment? I've got Mr. Starrett on the phone, and I did just speak to him. First, let me just say what you said initially in response, Toby. It's not just when we're plowing, it's even salting. When cars are on both sides of the street, we can't get a plow between cars even when we're just salting, because the plows are always on the truck. And so Dave, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yes, so the parking ban that's in effect now is up to, cars can park in the street up to 2 inches of snowfall, up to. And, sometimes when it's, you know, really cold out or, we get up on an inch, we still have to put our plows down, get the snow off the road and you can get the material down quicker. The rain takes long to melt. And, you know, the plows are falsely wide and it's a lot of times the guys just, you know, they'll call me all night, I can't get through. And so the purpose was to for our drivers, when they're out there trying to, make their road safe, to, be able to get through and to just make it any event, ice or snow. That way we can, you know, we don't risk, you know, trying to squeeze through two cars and damage something. It's just kind of a headache, so.
And Dave, what if we were to do that, redefine instead of 2 inches, maybe say 1 inch or any snow event, but leave the ban in effect?
The ban could stay in effect. I really would like it for it to say any no amount, any event, any ice event. Just so somebody isn't out there going, well, it's into 3/4 of an inch here. Well, I got an inch over here, and then everybody's, you know, it's just any event off the road. The 1.6 can stay as far as I'm concerned. The biggest impact would be any snow or ice.
Yeah, the idea of removing the overnight parking ban was to give our residents something back that we thought that they really appreciate. So anyway, I just wanted Dave to be able to weigh in. Any questions for Dave?
I don't know if this is for Dave, but I do have a question. So we're talking about, the use case we're talking about right now is residents and neighborhoods, right? But how does that affect parking on public streets? If we're gonna ban parking on streets during any event, does that mean that like down on State Street, if there's any event, then there's no parking on State Street, there's no parking on others on the side, like Washington or Jefferson or any of those near businesses?
So, excuse me, so the way the ordinance is written, from my understanding of it, it's roads and streets, not parking.
So because those are legitimate parking spaces, recognized parking places, that does not qualify, or that does not impacted by this change. Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
So we call that out in here.
I don't believe that.
Like, I don't know where you're pulling that information from.
Well, it says, the snow and ice events on roads and streets doesn't call out parking as parts of the roads and streets, so parking spaces are not considered parts of the road and streets. But we can amend the code to do that specifically to exempt parking spots.
I'm in favor of leaving the overnight ban and changing the sign that says in any snow event, any snow/ice event, you can't park in the street. That eliminates all of it.
We certainly have no objection to that. Again, that was just kind of an accommodation for our.
I guess what I would like to see in that same vein is maybe an official process to request some kind of parking, like right now, we like if you have neighbors out of town, like company from out of town or something, they still would have to comply with the any event.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, you have people over at your place. It's wintertime. You don't have a driveway big enough. They have to park their car on the street. There's no snow in sight,
Yeah, okay, that's when they call the police department. and
but we
usually-
don't have an official process for that.
Well, it's pretty official. People know to do it. They call all the time.
Even during the ban? Because that's my,
allowed during the ban.
that's my
Oh,
point.
Or no, you mean if it's dry?
Yeah.
So we will allow it.
Like just a couple of weeks ago during Thanksgiving weekend.
I
without
understand
any
that.
question, the
I'm
chief-
saying overnight, the overnight winter parking ban, for a long time, it was a hard stance, no. And so there wasn't like an official, okay, if it's not snowing and weather conditions are okay, call the police department for an exception or call the police
That happens
department.
quite a bit now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so people know that, it seems.
Except, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chief Pan just told us a few minutes ago that it's pretty subjective, so there isn't a
It is.
real process. And I think what, President Reed is asking for is a process.
So it's not a
A
subject.
clearly defined
Yeah. I
object.
guess that's, I would just say, I'll just speak personally, is that I would rather have them make a judgment call than to have a black and white rule that, in this case, sorry, you don't meet the black and white rule. Even the good judgment would say, given the,
I just know in other communities that I've lived in, if you have to park in the street overnight, even during the summer, I'm not suggesting we get there, that you had to call the police department and let them know that your car was on the street. That's just the way it was. It was different, the streets,
that's the case here, just between November 1st and April 1st.
Except that
except it's
it's
subjective.
subjective. And it's
not
not,
a
if you
official-
call,
Well,
then.
you're not.
What
allowed
I'm
to park
asking,
there.
what I'm asking for is a documented procedure for this to happen, is all. Okay, and I understand that there's,
All I'm thinking is if it's.
and I understand there's gonna be certain instances where they're gonna have to deny it. I get that, because of whatever may be going on
It'll
the
also,
street.
it'll also just increase the number. If we start saying, here's a new procedure for you to do this, then we'll have potentially dozens of calls instead of maybe 3 or 4 or 5. We don't get very many, right?
Yeah. My personal, I mean, or I guess my professional opinion on it, I would just lift. If it were up to me, I would just lift get rid of the no overnight. And,
I don't agree with that at all.
yeah, I don't.
We have worked over a decade to get it where it's at. Why go back? Why go back? The overnight ban, let them keep the overnight ban and remove the 2-inch. That's easy.
But it sounds like the purpose of why the overnight ban was done 10 years ago isn't being fulfilled by what's happening. So why keep it in if it's not serving any purpose?
Well, then, Mr. Kelly, then you'll have to change the time. Let's call Sterrett back and find out
Still on phone.
what time do you start, Dave? 4 a.m?
Typically, yeah.
And if it's gonna be a big event, it might start earlier.
Yeah, we might start earlier or we.
So what do you want to put down on time?
No, I was saying-
Typically be back at 4 a.m.
The recommendation from Dave is no time, no ban.
Won't be in. Just if it's snowing, get your car off the street.
Right.
And
Yeah, the only concern I had about that when we talked about it at staff level was that, if a storm comes out of nowhere at 2:00 in the morning, people are sleeping, they're not gonna know to go out and move their car.
Right.
That rarely happens. Rarely.
Then let's refer back. How many tickets have we written so far this year on snow events? When Dave's having problems with vehicles, I'm assuming they're calling the police and telling them how many tickets are being issued or tows. Because if I remember right, if you look at the back budget, we were doing pretty well on tow recovery fees, towing cars and tickets, parking.
We rarely have to tow a car on snow.
People get out and move them when they see it's coming.
Yeah.
And what's happening now, the app is really working out well because the plow driver will take a picture of the car and send it to the police department immediately, and they're out there within minutes usually, unless we have so many that they're too busy.
But at
The
the
app
time,
works great
we've issued hundreds of tickets for violating the overnight parking ban.
when there's no snow at all.
When there's no snow at all.
Once it-
If we enforce it, but it's literally, there's been hundreds of tickets since November 1st.
This year. So that's your answer.
which is, oh, go ahead.
I'm not saying this is what we should do or not do, but I would make a comment that I would recommend a change to the proposed ordinance if this is considered for any event, because it still has the dates of November 1st to April 1st. I just did a quick search. Last year, the last snow event happened after April 1st. And often the first snow or ice happens in October. And so if we're gonna do this to say any snow event or any ice event, I would just remove the dates.
Yeah, I think Dave has made that comment to us in the past when we've gotten the April 21st snowstorms, and the April 1st just isn't enough anymore.
16. Yeah.
Or the October.
Yeah.
Snow.
Right, when it's snowing on Halloween.
Remember that well.
Yeah, 2 years in a row.
Can I also point out that if we were to remove the overnight parking ban, that would limit the number of vehicles that are parked over sidewalks overnight and would make it a lot easier. Kids are getting up in the dark and getting to their bus and then they can't get through on sidewalks. So they're walking in the street and it's still dark and people can't see them. So it may increase a little bit of safety.
I think the ordinance states you can't block the sidewalk till 9 PM and you have to unlock the sidewalk at 6 AM.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's still dark at 5:30 when they're walking.
Oh, I didn't know kids get to the bus stop
Depends on
at 5:30.
Well, there's a bus that comes at 6:15, but they've got to get to the bus stop and P300 is limited the number of bus stops for high school and middle school, so they're hoofing it pretty early and in the dark.
I apologize. And I appreciate this discussion, but can we maybe next, when we table this, bring this back with the changes that we spoke of? And it'll give everybody a little while to talk about it with their.
What changes? I made a suggestion on a date, but I haven't heard
We
of
could
like,
separate it if you're not ready to eliminate the overnight ban yet.
Well, okay, so maybe I should pull the board here. What is it that you guys, what are you guys wanting to eliminate the ban down on this side of the table? And remove the dates?
The only reason I'm pushing is because
It's snow.
we're in the middle of it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I apologize.
If I could give my comments first before you try to table or get a
Sure.
poll of the board. I think for me, the most important thing is we're doing this just like what you said. We're in the middle of snow at this point. And today is one rule. And if we pass this, even in a month, all of a sudden the rule changes. So we've got two ordinances on the same issue in the middle of a snow season. And I think that's just not fair to the residents. I think if we had worked on this in maybe July or June or something, we could have talked about it and we could have really pushed a lot of, social media, et cetera, to let people know and have time to get the signs and to get them up. For me, this is the first notice we've had on, and I'm not an employee. I don't hear all the complaints that come in. So this is the first notice to us, and then it's got an ordinance and we're changing it and signs are being ordered. And I'm like, that's a little fast. It's fast for me as a trustee, and I can't even imagine it for the residents. So that's one thing. Two is safety. If we're not going to be plowing overnight and we're going to allow people to keep their cars on the streets, it's going to be like bumper cars when we have ice. Because as people are coming around, I'm used to having no cars on there. But if I lose control coming around a curve someplace, I'm going to hit cars on the street, which is a problem.
Under this ordinance, they'd have to be off the street because that would be a snow event.
Yeah, but the fact is if you don't know it's going to be a snow event and it's 2:00 in the morning and it starts to snow and ice, your car's out there because you weren't expecting it. A lot of times I wake up in the morning and gosh, where'd that come from? Two is, and you've kind of mentioned it, that during the day, it's not an issue. I had no idea that the ordinance, I should, that it's during the day too. I thought it was just at night that you couldn't be parked on the street, but I'm learning tonight that it's anytime it snows during the day, during the night, you can't be on the street.
Over 2 inches currently.
Over 2 inches.
Correct.
'Cause we have a lot of businesses in this. I mean, all the houses around me are all businesses between furnaces and electric and plumbing, et cetera. They're in and out constantly on there. And then you've also got people that are dropping off and picking up stuff then throughout the day. So I think that's a hardship to the businesses. Three is the multifamilies. We have You know, just by me, there are ranches, with full basements underneath, which is double. And there are multifamilies living in these duplexes. So the whole basement is someone else. The half the garage is filled with stuff. They don't have enough room to be able to park normally. And that street's always filled. If you're trying to go down in Lakewood, they're on both sides of the street. And just to get through at night.
If you get, that's why we've given out 300 tickets already, because they can't do that right now.
Well, if we
We're proposing to let them start to park on the
If
street.
we do that, then imagine then you've got, you're not used to it. All of a sudden it's ice. You don't realize it's ice overnight. It's kind of nice to have that street completely open. I mean, it's bad enough in the summer when you're trying to come around and there's kids in the middle of the street and it's dark
I'm
there.
sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying those people couldn't get their cars in their driveway.
Well, that's part of it too, is that's why they're on the streets. So by me and as I drive through the neighborhood, I see cars that are parked on lawns. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that, but I mean, close to me, I see it a lot. Lakewood, I see it a lot. And they're parking on that parkway area too, in between the parkway trees. So
They get a ticket for that.
I know,
I've
but
given 3 of those this week on the app alone.
that's what they're doing. So the multifamily then with all these cars then, and to put them back on the street overnight, adding, even just after the clouds have gone through, you've got slush on the street. It's a little icy the next few days. So even though there's no new snowfall, you've still got dampness on the street and it's, so yeah, those are some of my feelings and I want the ban to stay. I really do, so I'm fine with it if it's overnight and any time that there is a snow incident that people have to be off the streets. I could support that. I'll keep the overnight ban though anyway. Especially as I said, Dave could start plowing at 4 o'clock in the morning if it's a big snow and he's bringing people in. So, but I do think though, to start this now, you've got Dave doing one thing today and, January 1st, it might be different if we vote a different way. I think there's got to be a lot more than that. So do it. That's my.
Yeah, no, I think I'm leaning in favor, as it was stated by trustee Coates, for the ban to stay in place and for the cars not to be on the streets in any event of inclement weather on the street. So I'm leaning in favor of that. And also, I do believe the dates of November 1st, April 1st should be changed. So that's
I'm
something.
hearing 3 with that position so far.
It's something that hasn't happened yet, but something I think we've got to think about too is this talk about daylight saving going back and changing. How's that going to impact what we're doing here? Obviously, it's going to have an effect. But we're not saying it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, but it's something to think about.
Mr. Robinson.
Not following the daylight savings.
Well,
The snow removal in darker times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're gonna not go into this dark period where it's dark and
Or walking earlier.
nights time. So that's gonna impact the earlier part of this or part of this. So it's just something to think about. Hasn't happened and it may not happen, but it's something to think about if that is put in there. Does that affect anything we're talking about here?
Mr. Robinson.
I'm kind of with the same sentiments of trustee Cook. I mean, we work really hard to keep cars off the street. It's kind of like common practice now. As far as like trustee Paul Stream mentioned, some people have garages full of stuff. Well, sorry, that's the ordinance.
Yeah.
Either, and I hate to say it, clean your garage, get a storage facility, but that's the ordinance.
Dave, anything you want to add before, I think it's clear that staff is fine with the overnight ban. We don't have a problem with that at all. We would like to redefine the 2 inches if that's still a possibility.
Absolutely. So trustee Fodor is the only one that hasn't had an opportunity to speak her mind on this.
The way I see it, we have 2 issues, yes or no on the overnight ban. And then changing language to reflect it to say any weather event. Is that correct?
That's pretty clear.
Okay. Issue number 2, I totally understand. Yes, I think we should change the language so that it fits our current needs. That being said, if we're saying we need to change things to fit our current needs, does the overnight ban fit our needs? If the answer is no, it doesn't fit our needs, but it's what we've done. Okay, but why? If it's not fitting our needs. So if we can decide what the issue is it because it's really hard to establish this, or it's because streets department needed it? Pick one, whichever lane we're in, that's how I'm gonna vote.
Dave, that was mentioned before, why the parking ban no longer really helps you. You've changed the procedures, right?
Procedures, fall. I'm not saying to be, out overnight, but I've, after doing this for over 20 years, I've seen some guys getting some loopy conditions, and it's very unhealthy, and you're risking, accidents, keep the guys going. So what I, like to do is I like to give the guys a break overnight. When we can, again, if it's a blizzard or if it's an ice storm or even heavy snow, we'll stay in later. Won't be in that 1 to 6, but I typically, try to, back off on the guys and get them some rest overnight.
So Dave, let me ask a question. If we have a big blizzard coming and you guys are out at 2 a.m, if there's the no parking ban is lifted, you're gonna have a bigger problem. Won't you?
Yeah, if I'm over 2 inches, same as, 12 inches, I need some.
No, I'm saying if the overnight ban, that you guys are looking at removing, if it's removed and everybody's parked out in the street, you're gonna have a bigger problem trying to plow.
They don't flex the weather, yes, we would, maybe, maybe
So-
on the street.
Okay, so now the question,
I think we're good, Dave. Thanks.
thanks. So, Jimmy and or staff,
I have a question. Sorry.
Yes.
That's not fair. It was mentioned, Mr. Hedges, that the ordinance would take effect immediately, is the recommendation. Is staff willing, based on wherever the board decides tonight, to have this actually start on, let's say, January 1st, or a time that allows for communication to the residents before it immediately goes
Well,
into
when
effect?
I said immediately, we would like the ordinance to go into effect immediately, but then we would certainly give a grace period education. So if you wanted to make it January 1st, that would be fine.
Or whatever date feels like is a good enough time.
January 1st is only, 10 days away now.
Yeah,
so
no,
that doesn't help much.
I'd be, honestly, as we talk about this, I'd be okay if we are going to do this for it to go into effect immediately, but then have like a transition period with staff where we're gonna come up with a communication plan and stuff where it's not gonna be as enforced as heavily.
I think with global warming and the weather changing, I think lifting the night ban is the wrong direction for this board.
Understood. Made your point perfectly clear. My question for staff and Mr. Baselli is there a method in which to pass this evening, making the changes that the board has talked about? Or do we need to table this to get this cleaned up? The reason why I'm asking is so what we would want to do, based on what I'm hearing, the board can correct me if I'm wrong. We want to remove the dates. We want to change it. We want to leave the ban in place for overnight, and then we want to change the 2 inches to any snow event of ice. Is staff and or counselor, is this best to be tabled and brought back for the next meeting?
I think Jimmy's okay with he's got an amendment to the motion.
We could change it where we would. Sorry, I'm gonna go through the pages. Let's look at page 14 of our packet, page 3 of the ordinance. Under subsection 261. So that the language that would be stricken, I believe that is no longer stricken. Okay, so we would approve it subject to that change. But 271. I think that stays the same because then we're talking about we're talking about the more, I don't know how to say it, but more proactive method of how we determine what a snow event is. Are we leaving in the 2 inches or no?
No, we're changing that to any.
Any snow event, as
As-
Tom Skilling says it's gonna snow, it snows, we go from there, right? That's.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only part of 271 would be C.
And that would, and under C, it would strike the last sentence that says dates of parking restrictions. Well, are we gonna strike that or are we gonna make it October 1st?
No,
Through May
I would just,
first.
I just strike it.
Strike it all together. We can do that. We can handle making those changes. And I would like to say one thing, I just wanna, it will go into,
Well,
go on.
hold on. If we strike this, if we strike that in C from November 1st to April 1st, does that mean that nobody can park on the street overnight, period?
No, that's not
If you're gonna
overnight.
leave the
That's,
smoke ban in effect, then we do need dates.
no, the dates that are referenced in C is not to the parking, it's to the inclement weather.
Okay, so then we would, okay, perfect.
Back in 2/7.
So we'd leave the ban where it is, but I leave the ban where it is.
Just redefine 2 inches to a snow event.
Right. And so then we would still run into a problem if it snows on April 15th because the ban is done on April 1st.
So do you
Not
want to
if we
extend the ban by?
Yeah, if we strike it.
Moving the dates.
So, but
No.
the police chief has the discretion to implement additional parking bans to facilitate the abatement of dangerous or inclement weather. So it's tax day, April 15th, and there's a 20-inch snow. We are blessed to have a good police chief. He will implement the ban using his discretion. And we don't like things with discretion. We like, this board likes rules. This board likes procedure. So we could do one of two things. We could trust our police chief to be the wise man that he is. Or we could just say May 1st to October 1st and allow,
It sounds like that's what you're all.
Yeah, I think that I think we,
give us guidance, and we could do that either way.
I think that whatever that is, I think we.
Let's make that.
October 1st, then we'll make October
For the
1st
overnight parking ban.
to May 1st.
Why would we not make it just any event? I mean, you don't,
It
No,
will
no,
be
no,
any event.
so-
No dates on the event. The overnight ban is just going to be extended by 2 months.
We're gonna go 1 month earlier, 1 month later.
It's 6 months.
I agree with you, trustee. And I don't know any other alternative than the two. I'm not being arrogant about this. There's two alternatives, right? There's either discretion or there's bright line rules. We have a bright line.
Or rely on the new definition of a snow event to handle those.
We can't leave the ban dates as is and remove the amounts of snow before the ban goes into effect.
Well, the amounts are gonna be out. I mean,
Right,
we're
the
not
amounts are gonna be out.
talking-
So we could change it from October to April.
We can take October to April or October to May. I thought the concern was more April, the April month was the more concern between us.
What is an issue? Sorry,
Yeah.
what my concern was that I raised has nothing to do with the overnight ban.
no.
The concern that I had raised
Yeah.
was that if we're redefining to any snow or ice event, a dusting, an ice event can happen outside of the dates that are in here under that section, not with the overnight ban.
Sure.
My opinion on the overnight ban dates, if that's where the board wants to keep it, I think we are talking about rare annual exceptions of when the ice or snow happens outside of things, and that it already would be stating that no matter what date, if this occurs, your car has to be off the road.
Fair enough.
So I don't
We
know
don't
why
need-
we would have to have 6 months of the year where people can't park on the
Just to
street.
your point earlier, trustee Coth, you spent all this time educating people that it's November 1 to April 1. If we now change the dates, that's going to be re-educating.
That's fine.
Great.
I'd also like to say, honestly, if, talking about amending it, I really think it needs to be tabled and changed. Because if we pass this tonight and we've got this ordinance as written, we're not gonna approve our minutes for another, 2 weeks. I
No, it's
think.
going to be 4 weeks before we have another meeting.
Before,
January
okay, 4, that's right, we took it off then, that's right. But we don't, there's gotta be something in writing that they can be handed that's been passed, approved, and, to turn around and say, well, I think this is what I like to read it. I like to see the changes.
The ordinance will be ready and codified before the next meeting.
Yeah, but
It
I
has nothing
wanna
to do
see
with the minutes.
I wanna see it. I wanna see it in writing and all the things so that I can see it all together and really read it closely to make
So
sure that
my-
it fits everything we
So my
want.
question was to to staff and the attorney. What sections do we need to change to pass this today? You gave us, that was 271, right? And you wrote it down. So what would, in order to pass this today, what do we need to do?
Just do those two things.
Just those two things.
I just want to clarify one point. This is a punitive ordinance. There's a penalty involved. That means, and it would be like 10 days later. I don't know if that solves everyone's concern, but remember, every time we pass a prohibition, a penalty type ordinance, it goes into effect a little bit later to allow people to adjust. I don't know if how that cuts. I just want to make sure that's out there and everyone knows that there is a chilling period, excuse the analogy or the pun, but there's a chilling period on the 10 days.
And
I think that speaks to the will of many people on board when they said, we need that time to
Correct.
educate people anyway.
and it is clear to staff that we're gonna be gentle about this for the next 30
Probably
days,
beyond 10 days.
next 30 days or so at least.
A lot of judgment.
What's the penalty? Which is not in here.
Parking ticket or having.
What is it? I mean, shouldn't that be in here?
$35.
No,
$35.
that's another section of the code.
But then it was also removal of vehicle.
Right,
And how much is that?
that's dependent on who they get to tow.
We won't have to do that. The tow one that Mr. Coth was talking about, excuse me, is generally for DUIs where the car is definitely.
But I mean, in 271B, responsibility for costs and,
That would be if there was a relocation, so it would be whatever the tow fee is for them to come and move the car.
are we talking?
150 maybe, something like that. But I mean, that's a very rare event. I mean, the only time we would do that is if literally a 12-foot plow couldn't get through the street and they were violating the ordinance, we would tow the car.
Do you guys
But would
knock
we
on
knock on
doors?
doors first?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. It's like one of these things that like if nobody's home on either side and there's two cars
Right.
parked there and nobody knows whose car it belongs to,
Then
Yeah.
both cars.
yeah, then we tow them. But we don't, but like that doesn't happen because typically if it's on the street, somebody's in the house,
Okay.
I think so.
right?
We
So-
don't like to relocate cars, so it's
Okay.
not a popular
So
at all.
the current proposal is leave
Good morning.
261O in place, not stricken, and 271, all of the changes with the exception of strike section C. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was there an amendment to 2610 with the dates, or we're just leaving it?
Maybe.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Are you got, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I go forward with as President Reed, as you feel is right. My since this will be a single vote on what are really two different matters, I really am supportive of, I understand the need on any event, and it definitely outlines it and says forecasting, right? This isn't like the National Weather Service has now issued a warning. This is meteorologists said our 7-day outlook says there may be snow on Thursday. They've now given a forecast. When it snows or sleets, happens. It goes into effect. Because of that, I don't know that I can support the first part of it, which is banning cars from parking on the road, because watch the forecast, you know. Whether it's the news, the radio, the 14 other ways that you can get a forecast. But that's just where I sit. I may be just sharing my thoughts on that.
I agree, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't. And that just makes
Totally
it
understood.
really hard for public works.
Right, but Public Works recommended it.
That's true.
Just wanted to,
So to call, because these are two separate issues, do I need to call a roll for each one of the ordinances?
one
There's only one.
One ordinance.
Recommended. All right. I'll entertain a motion approving the text amendment to section 261 and 271 with the changes that Mr. Pacelli is going to read us right now.
That would be, thank you, Mr. Chair. That would be the stricken language on page 3 of the ordinance. Page 14 of 255 of your packets is no longer stricken. And the language on page 4 of your ordinance, page 15 of 255, under subsection C, all of C is stricken. There is no subsection.
which would create would remove the 2-inch rule right now and change it to every snow event, leave the parking ban in place. And remove the dates of, November 1st or April 1st to that any snow event.
Is there a concern by striking or removing the addition in section C? That it then removes section C and D becomes C and it affects the remainder of the ordinance?
No, because an excellent lawyer will put in there that under C, will say in brackets reserved. And that's how it will go. And that's many years spent in Springfield drafting legislation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
And there's no chance that we can split this.
well, we can table it, but I mean, we could table it and split it. It doesn't matter. I mean, we can do whatever you guys want to do. Right now, the codes are, right now it's combined. It's been combined. That doesn't mean it needs to stay combined.
Apologies, let me rephrase. Is there any way to split the two changes, like section 261, one
So you're asking for two.
271? Second,
What is it you're trying to accomplish?
Oh, I understand.
because I feel like there's a lot more opposition to 261 than there is 271. And I think 271, there's a lot more agreement. But by tying the two things together,
There's a procedure in the Roberts Rules called splitting the question.
Okay.
And the idea is that under splitting the question, that the deliberative body, the legislative body in this course, says that these two issues are too diverse to be handled in one question.
Okay.
At that
I've
point,
never seen it done.
I think we're asking too much of the board to do all that at one time tonight. I thought we had a consensus to leave the ban in effect, except Mr. Kelly.
oh no, I'm also in agreement that
Is there anybody else who, sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's really your job. I'm only hearing two voices maybe that would eliminate the ban right now.
So I know the ban is, they've been vocal about it. I've been clear. I agree where we've come from with the, where we've got, like, it's taken us a long time to get here, but I also know the complaints that we get on a regular basis about not being able to park on the street if it's dry, especially up in like Lakewood Crossing or over holidays. Now, granted, the police department has done a great job as of recently, like foregoing those holidays, and doing that kind of stuff. That's why at the beginning of this conversation, I said maybe there should be a process, an official process to request to be able to park on the street. Because I feel like that would have been a good middle ground. Leave the ban in place, but give the residents a way to park on the street if it's dry. Right now, no offense, it sounds like it's pretty subjective based on whoever is in a good mood on the phone that day. And I don't mean that to be, I'm just saying, like, who takes the call, whether or not they're going to be able to say, yeah, sure, that's fine, or no, not tonight, or whatever. And I understand there's always going to be those circumstances. That's why I said, if there was an official process, I feel like, and I'm not going to speak for the board, but I feel like the board might be okay with leaving the ban in place, knowing that there's a method in which people can park on the street if needed, with the exception of a snow event. That was my process in trying to figure out, let's have a process for it, because then this whole ban conversation goes away. The whole ban.
I think we could easily create a process. It's a matter that I think will also increase the number of that processing. We could take advantage of that process, which may become unmanageable.
Understood.
Police department.
But there's how many residents?
What easily we could do is we have electronic forms, the forms on the website, forms in the app, fill it out, send it to the police department. That's what we have to do.
You could limit
The police department would have to respond.
We already have a tool we can use.
you could limit the number of requests per year per house.
Well, there's a lot of stuff you could do when you get into the weeds of it, to your point. But what I'm suggesting is, I think that a lot more people would be comfortable with, hey, there's a ban, okay, but I've got family in town, or I've got 3 high school kids, or what, that kind of stuff. Or we're doing a project and I need to have stuff in the garage right
Can I
now.
say this? We could create a process without, we oftentimes create processes just like creating rules for legislation after legislation's passed. We can come up with a process, Doug and I can easily, have to, but it doesn't have to be in this ordinance.
But okay, so that, I understand that. That being said, if there was a process for residents to be able to park on the street when it is dry, the snow forecast will trump all of it, okay? If it snows, it doesn't matter if you requested to stay on the street or not, you're done. Get it off the street, period. Does that help the conversation of the ban then in general? Does that give you some?
It does. I think we started with, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we started with, we'll give warnings at first. I think then it needs to not be, here's your ticket, snow event ticket. Like, if you start giving out warnings, then people are going, oh, it's okay, I can do it. I'm just gonna get a warning.
Are you talking about after the?
If it is passed, then I think it needs to go right. Of the weather event, if it is passed, I think then we need to go right to ticket.
After an
because-
education process?
Oh,
After the 10 day.
We need,
Yeah.
we need to give them some
That-
time to educate.
Yes, but I don't think we need to be lenient on, oh, it's a warning, we're gonna
No.
do a warning.
We're gonna come, the staff will come up with a process in which to educate the residents, and during that education process, or time period, whatever that is, 10 days, 14 days, a month, whatever it is, whatever the staff feels is right, they're going to educate and then change their habits, and then after that, it's over. We're not gonna be gracious about it the whole time. But I think that that's what the hangup is, because we all hear the complaints about not being able to park in front of our house, and right now, it's kind of this, call, maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no, or whatever. And they can't have that. So we just need a
I
process.
think it's just all needs to depend on the weather forecast. If it's
Correct.
forecast for snow on Thursday and you put in last week, you want to park on the street on Thursday? No.
Yeah, right, no, exactly. Snow's gonna trump all of it, doesn't matter.
Chief, if you get phone calls from people asking to be able to park overnight, is there a record that you keep of that? I mean, obviously you've got to tell all the officers that are out patrolling, but do we keep track of that? So,
Not right now, but I have a tool. All I have to do is turn it on. That in a website that we use, that where I can do that really easily.
okay.
I just don't have, we don't keep the record
But
right
when
now.
you get a phone call and approve somebody to park on the street, our officers need to know that.
It's usually email or,
So
you know,
he does
we
notify.
get it passed along or something.
My concern is people just using it, constantly. I just have to call overnight and, I meet all the criteria, et cetera, so I'm gonna get it. And so this is the 17th request in the last 2 months for this person. So that's what I'm trying to see if when someone calls, whoever answers that phone is gonna be able to see how many times that request is
We
gonna
can
be.
we can track it. We just, right now, we don't, but we usually can.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess, okay, so with that being said, does that give some comfort to the board in leaving the ban as is? Trustee Kelly?
I have said my opinion.
With that, are we now prepared to I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance. I'm not going to make the attorney go through everything that we've already changed. But to approve what's being presented tonight, leaving the ban in place, removing the dates for the snow events and changing the snow event total to any event. I'm prepared to entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I think it's too much, too fast, and I'm voting no. I think there has to be a period of time for people to swallow it, to understand it, et cetera. And I think we're cramming this down in one night to be effective immediately, and I think that doesn't disservice.
I agree 100%. But you or me, we're not out there fighting them cars every day plowing snow.
Mhm.
And guess what? They hit a couple of cars. Now they're out looking for a job. So that thing
Then we should
applies
have
to me
brought
on
this in
both.
June.
Yes.
We should have brought this months ago so that we have time to do it.
Everybody makes mistakes.
We're rushing it tonight to do it.
Everybody makes mistakes.
I appreciate everybody's comment. It took a lot, but to be fair, I don't necessarily think that it was a mistake. I think this is something that we've been trying to kick around and try to figure out to present. First time I heard about it, I'm going to be honest, where we really got serious about it was at the chili cook-off, where we talked about it a little bit, the chief and I, and Dave. It was a very generic conversation, and I said, come up with something that you think could work. But I know this has been a topic that we've talked about, especially with Lakewood Crossing and those cars and parking overnight and all this other stuff. So I think it's a culmination of event. Is the timing ideal? No, it's not. But I think that, you know, we have the facts in front of us and now is the time that we can act. So I have a first and a second. Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
No.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
Motion passes 4-2.
Thank you very much. Now on to our second agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, we would ask your consideration of an ordinance approving the text amendment to section 2-312 of the Hampshire Municipal Code regarding fighting rules. This is something that arose out of a meeting that we had with District 300 a couple of months ago. We're the only community in District 300 that does not have a no fighting rule that the schools can use. And they have asked us to do this. Instead, we have to charge people with disorderly conduct. There's really no more of a crime. I'll let Doug talk in about 5 seconds. It just sounds maybe worse. Is that fair?
That's fair. In the school district, the ordinance is modeled after a Carpentersville ordinance. The SROs have all asked for this. Both of them have asked for this. And, it wouldn't apply just in the school. I mean, it would apply in the community in general. If it would allow us to, make an arrest if there was a fight that were to take place on the street out here, without a complainant if we wanted to. It's just another tool in the toolbox for the officers, rather than charging somebody with disorderly conduct, which in that case, we would need a complainant. But really the focus of it is in the schools and having a more palatable offense to charge someone with it.
And along with this, District 300 has agreed to a program that Doug's a big fan of.
Yeah, we're working on it.
That'll be the next
Yeah.
step. You want to
Which,
explain that briefly?
so I'm working with the school district on a potential pilot program for our community that would then, move out to all of District 300 if it's successful, where we would be looking at, it's basically a diversion program for juveniles, where instead of charging them with any criminal offense or ordinance violation, we would do, sanctions through the school district, or through the police department, that would be managed by the school resource officers. It's called a station adjustment. But there's a whole mechanism and a software tool that we would use to track those and to track success and failure. And, that's something that we're working on.
Well, you explained it to me the first time, and I think the board has heard this. You sit down with a student and a counselor and maybe the parents and say, okay, you were wrong here. Now you have to clean your room twice a week or whatever it is. It's a diversion program, but it's very simple.
Yeah.
Can I ask, your comment that you're working on it, is it that you're working on the program or you're working on having District 300 do the program?
Yes.
So District 300 has asked for this type of a change and they have not committed to saying that you could do the diversion.
We've asked for the change, and in return for us doing a fighting ordinance, we had this conversation, all of us together, that the chief operating officer for the district was actually the superintendent as well, at the police department. And they came over to look at the training center, among other things. But they wanted to talk about the no fighting rule. And there was actually an incident that brought this to our attention. And then Doug proposed this alternative method diversion program, and they liked the idea of doing that as a pilot program. So that was our idea, and they agreed to our idea.
Then I misunderstood, because I thought it was stated that we were considering this ordinance because we're the only area in the school district that doesn't have it, and they would like something.
The fighting ordinance, yes.
That's what I was talking about.
But not the diversion program, that's the other side of it.
No, my comment was, the school district is asking for a fighting ordinance, but they haven't said yes to this diversion program.
They've said yes, but it hasn't happened yet. So
We're not even asking that they implement it. We want to do it as a pilot program too.
Yeah.
It's pretty experimental at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're fighting, we're the only ones that don't do it.
Spoken to other police departments about this fighting ordinance, and it's pretty common, especially when we have police officers in schools. It's a copy and paste. If you look up this ordinance, you could go to any municipality, Woodstock, Huntley, They've all got similar ordinances.
Mr. Vasselli.
Yes.
A 10-year-old in elementary school gets into a fight. Are we legally allowed to fine them?
That's actually, issue before the legislature at this point in time.
Yeah, that was a news story this week. Actually, the Attorney General is going after a lot of these school districts, saying that we shouldn't be ticketing and,
I saw the parking.
finding municipally, for fighting incidents that happen within the school.
And if that's the teeth of this,
Not changed yet.
understood, but if that's the teeth of this, and if it were to change before the legislature, one, I don't know if I feel comfortable finding a 10-year-old because they got into a fight.
How about a
Number
kindergarten?
one, but two, if we're not even allowed to do that in the future, I don't know why we're doing this. And I'm not trying to be rude, but
No,
I don't know
I
how
think
else
it's a
to
good
say this,
question.
right?
I was in, if I may draw upon an example, I was in court yesterday, or I was a hearing officer in court yesterday, and I did impose a sanction upon younger children. The law is the law at this point in time. If it changes, we have an obligation as a non-homeowner unit to follow the state government. I think the thought is, and I work with diversionary programs in different counties, because we are kind of unique. We're a little bit behind on that with regards to diversionary programs for stuff like that, because it is a more, I don't like to use the word progressive, but it is a more one with forethought. Like, we're going to try to solve this problem rather than give a kid a fine for $75 and mom and dad are going to pay it, or they don't get Legos, right? Like, that's really what we're talking about. But the law's the law now. And I think while it is somewhat of a collateral issue, I think that's what the chief's point is, that this is a part one of part two. We are behind the times on part one with regard to this ordinance. And I can attest, because I go to board meetings every night of my life, that this is the standard, what we have before us, not what we had. And ideally, there would be a diversionary program on there. Let's say there's not. This is the request of the school. It's a legitimate request. It's a request that is the commercially reasonable standard, for lack of a better word, of what goes on in the other communities on there. I strongly support this, having, because as I work as a prosecutor, as I work as a hearing officer and a prosecutor.
Yeah, I guess my thank you for that. My concern is this seems, or not concern, I guess where I'm still have mixed emotions on this is, or thoughts is, if this is being asked for by the school, it's for events that take place within the school, on school grounds. They have their own disciplinary procedures that can include suspension, expulsion, or whatever it may be. They should be holding their students accountable for their students' behavior. And if their students break a law, like bring illegal substances onto a campus, or God forbid something else, there are already laws in place that police can make an arrest. And if it is such an incident that requires the police to get involved, then why do we need to soften what the language is of what it is? If it's truly, I forget.
Disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct.
So if someone gets, if a student gets in a fight tomorrow, and they're likely to be charged with disorderly conduct, and this is something that, we did have already established, the school district is asking for us to pass this so they have consistency across District 300. If the law changes at a higher level next month, then we're mandated to follow that, and we'll change it at the time. Right now, this brings us in line with the other communities in our school district. And I forget, have I answered the question yet? I think I kind of lost it for me. Yeah.
I think there's a subtle difference between fighting and disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct carries a heavier burden for the student.
So it's a class A.
Permanent.
So
You be charged with,
It's a charge.
well, there's some disorderly conducts that are felonies. There's some disorderly conducts that are not. I have to answer that
Question,
one, right?
yeah.
But again, we are in a school district. Part of the problem, the state of Illinois has more taxing districts than any other state in the country other than the state of California, which is the 5th largest economy in the world, okay? So we have two different jurisdictional bodies, okay?
We have a school that does not punish people. It says we've removed you from this because your discipline is not allowing you to operate with our students. And then we have a body of policing, which is what our police chief does. And while they do overlap a little bit, this is for the sanction for acting in a manner of fighting, which is different than disorderly conduct. If there are two people fighting, are they causing a disturbance so as to make a breach of the peace? Literally deal with that every day. And I have people very articulately, but heartfelt. And I will try to be brief because we are our second agenda or third agenda item. And second agenda item. It's 8:25 p.m.
But don't worry, there's no more meetings this year.
Maybe. But no, I mean, people are like, well, I got jumped. Nobody was around for that. So this is now fighting. This covers an ill that we're trying to cure. It's the school board coming to us with this. We know this is the right thing to do. It does also get us in line with our sister municipalities under the jurisdiction of the same school district. Is that fair, Chief?
Yes. And we have, and it is a partnership with the school district, and, you know, the school district will say, well, we're not arresting the kids, you are. But we do have, there are expectations when we have officers assigned to the school that we, as long as we're within the law, that we're partnering with the school district, that we're fulfilling their expectations as long as it's legal to do that. And so, I mean, I do support this ordinance, but I also support exploring other alternatives while we enforce this ordinance, which was what I was talking about a little bit. I would like to see that happen, but I also think that it's important to pass the ordinance.
Without getting in too much detail, there have been a few instances recently this school year that because we don't have an ordinance like this on the books, that has caused a lot of trauma, if you will.
There's one in particular where the school district really expressed our SRO to act. He was reluctant to act because he didn't think it rose to the level of disorderly conduct. Had it been fighting, he probably would have written a ticket. But instead, he didn't do anything, and the school district wasn't too happy about that.
And it was a fairly large issue that even blew up on social media because they were trying to compare our community to other communities that happen to have high schools within the same district. And so because we are the outlier, we're in a position now that, I mean, I can see, is this the best tool for the job? Chief even says, no, it's not the best tool for the job. It's not, but we don't have anything on the book that's less than disorderly conduct.
And I know times are different, but my understanding is an SRO's job is to handle when the law is broken in schools.
Yep.
Fighting is not necessarily against the law. It is a school until it rises to an order of something that you would charge for.
But that's the standard that's been established across the district, is that an arrest would be made when there's a fight, along with other, weapons and drugs.
Right. So the school district wants you to have to manage their disciplinary procedure.
They want us to enforce the law in the building. That's not discipline.
But that's already the SRO's job.
Right, which they are paying us.
That is already the SRO's job.
Is reluctant to enforce that law because it's too stringent on the student. He wants something less that he can charge him with, called fighting.
Just fighting.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
So, but disorderly is the way it's written here is to act in such a way as an unreasonable manner as to alarm or disturb another and provoke a breach of the peace. That's not an actual physical touching. So it's kind of a
It could be.
assault. But the way that's
disorderly
written,
conduct is a catch-all.
it's a catch-all.
It's a
But,
catch-all.
and I'm just going to boldly state, a student, 10 years old, punches a teacher. Do you charge them with fighting? Is that what you would do?
No, that's battery.
But it's fighting.
No, but it's different.
No, it's not.
It's classified different.
When you hit somebody, they don't hit you back. It's not fighting. If you battered them, they didn't hit you back.
It's a little bit different. I noticed.
Trustee, Polistrini, we're not eliminating disorderly conduct. If that's what they do, if it's more than the definition of what we're calling fighting here, then they charge them with something more aggressive. Higher crime, they can charge with anything they want inside that school.
This is just giving them a lower option that's not as high potency, if you will, as disorderly conduct. A disorderly conduct charge that may stick with a kid that for the rest of his life because he got into a fight in high school.
This is an ordinance violation, so it can't stick with them.
Well, I mean, as a minor, it gets a big, I mean, again, I don't want to turn this into a Supreme Court argument.
It's
Too late.
But it,
It is, we may be down that path already. Again, as a prosecutor, as a former prosecutor, someone who has tried jury trials and it does this on a weekly basis, I strongly recommend passing this because an officer who has to interpret the law could be put in a situation where he stands there and watches two kids clobber each other and not be able to do anything about it. That is an ill. It's a social ill. We have the ability to fix that, just like all of our neighboring communities. But it's not our decision. It's not the people back here's decision. It's whether you guys want to add these words to the code that we all believe you guys should add. And again, I don't think, and I'm not making light of the situation, in Trustee Palestrini's situation, I don't think the teacher slugged the child back necessarily. But I think the analogy, so maybe wanted to. I've seen teachers in videos want to, clearly. But I mean, what I think the typical situation that would fall under this section, if it did added, is two children in a school hallway, literally getting in a physical contest, boy, girl, whatever. I think that's the typical one. We don't always do the typical. I think that's what the ill we're trying to cure throughout. And again, it strongly comes, I think, from everyone here.
I think we've had our piece. I think it's.
And the one thing I would like to add to this, is School District 300 is asking for this, which is one of our community partners, which services all of our communities' kids. We're the only one that doesn't have it. If we come in and our police are coming in, you're getting a disorderly conduct charge. That's it. There's no other option. No other option. So I don't understand why we wouldn't want to give them a lesser, that's my piece, this forward.
okay. One, Elgin doesn't have a fighting ordinance. And U46 is the second largest school district in the state. We service 39,000 students through 11 communities, and Elgin doesn't do this. And I talked to our SRO and the substitute SRO today because they was going for training, but we don't have this, and they would simply charge it as disorderly, and they said it would be a class C misdemeanor, which would be less than what we're proposing as fighting as a class D. So if you could clarify that for me, I would really appreciate that, because I want to make sure that I'm making a decision based on accurate information.
What is it falling under?
It's a B.
It's a B.
Yes, but what I was told
Disorderly,
today
there's a whole range,
generally a C.
but there's a whole range in disorderly conduct too, as far as what,
Okay.
what some of the provisions are felonies and some of them go back and look at the law.
So-
It's a lot of different.
Okay, and my second question was, is this going to be equally enforced? So let's say they're at Neon Cow and a fight breaks out. Are they going to be charged in ordinance violation exactly the same way that they would at school?
That'll be the judgment of the police officer at the time.
But it does
But-
give the officer another option,
But in both locations?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not just.
or two adults that just decide to fight in front of the village hall here. It's another tool.
The incident
officers
that
have.
the mayor and I were talking about happened at a bus stop, not inside the school.
Yeah. And the kid got a disorderly conduct charge. And he didn't have to, based on the fact that it was two kids being stupid,
But
you know.
But that's why I'm asking, why did it have to be the higher disorderly conduct instead of the?
Oh, I don't know what class of disorderly it was. That I don't know.
That's what I'm asking. If we already have one that's lower, why are we adding?
It's really more about
in
the
the middle?
semantics of, honestly.
And trying to respond.
In the consistent
And trying to
across the
be
district.
cooperative with the district, with District 300. How many
Fighting
times-
is somehow more palatable to the community than disorderly conduct.
That I know is true. That I know is true from this last situation, because if you got a fighting charge versus your kid getting a disorderly conduct charge, somehow or another, parents take it better.
Can I just ask a question? Because I don't work in schools, so maybe this is for Trustee Fodor or Trustee Robinson as educators. The example that you just gave, President, bus stop is school property. There's a fight that breaks out on school property, whatever it may be. Comments,
Mhm.
fine. Are there we're saying that this occurred with, not in front of an SRO, but then was brought to an SRO.
Mhm.
And this is what happened.
Mhm.
Why would that be brought to an SRO? Why wouldn't the school just say, have a disciplinary meeting and say, you were fighting, you are suspended for X number of days, or you're in detention for X number of days? Why would in your schools, would something like that be brought to an SRO if it didn't happen in front of them?
No, it would, if it would happen on school property, it would be brought into the administrator's office and the administrator would go to the school handbook or district handbook and determine where the incident fell in regard to the situation. And then they have a menu of options they can go with: suspension, in school, out of school, how many days. No, they're,
Discipline code.
If District 300 has a fight in the school, they're calling the SRO. It's the same. It doesn't have to happen. This offense does not have to happen in the presence of an SRO to be enforced. And they will every time call, the officer will be invited. That's what they do.
Mhm. They don't have to.
They don't have to, they've chosen to have the SRO be the disciplinarian,
And your school doesn't.
is what it sounds like.
My school
That's
does
just
not.
not right.
My district generally does not.
Okay.
It has to be, it has to rise to the level of fight, trustee Kelly.
He
Well, we're
just
not-
said,
In an instance where they're fighting, not, well, just, you're implying they,
no, what I just said is, from what Chief just said was, anytime there's a fight, anywhere on school property,
that wasn't
whether
your
in front
question.
of
You
an
said, you said
SRO.
we're taking over the discipline. We're not taking over the discipline except in one incident when there's a fight. And that's a crime. It's not just a disciplinary situation.
It's a crime if this passes.
No, it's a crime now. It's a crime
That's
now.
sort of
It's just a crime
You
now.
call it something different. We're trying to
And the dis-
de-escalate this, not
The
escalate.
district considers this breaking the law. And just like you would if you decked somebody on State Street. Like if you and I went out and you decked me because you're really tired of me talking at a meeting. It's happened at some of the other ones. Poplar Grove just happened.
Yeah,
it did.
I've seen those many times in my
So,
many
but it would be-
it's about to happen here.
Same law. It's the same law, and it doesn't matter whether or not we're in the school or we're on State Street or we're at a bus stop or anything. It's the same law. It's within the village. They have to follow the village's laws.
Mr. President, I'm not an attorney. It was brought before the board. I ask you take a vote. We can debate this, we can debate this all
Trustee
night.
Coe, make a motion. You can make a motion at any time.
Well, you have to entertain the motion.
Well, no.
He simply has to ask for you to call the question. And if-
I don't entertain a motion to approve said ordinance, Mr. Coe.
I will make your motion.
Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Any more questions or comments?
I don't think that this board is qualified enough to debate this all night long.
I just think it's strange that U46 has a different policy and they deal with it internally when it happens on school grounds.
They have a different elected body.
And
They
we're a
set their
different
policy.
elected body too in this district. So if this group decides not to, that's our authority too.
Well, I didn't look into Bartlett and I didn't look into Streamwood and I didn't look into any of the other towns, but it's time to call the roll because we have a first and a second. So, Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini,
No.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor,
No.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Vogt,
Aye.
motion passes 4-2.
Okay, now on our third agenda.
On the consent agenda.
Oh, no.
I recommended that, but
No,
not this one.
there's
Some
no.
of my others.
With that, Mr. Mayor, we would ask for consideration of item C, a resolution approving a release of performance guarantee bond for Midwest Companies at 370 Briar Hill Road. This currently bond is at 33,000, this is on page 26 of your packet. There's also an agenda, or memorandum from Mr. Paulson, who's online. But this would be eliminating the bond that is currently at $33,988. Any questions for Mr. Paulson? If not, all the documentation's in your packet.
I just have one question. Does the amount need to be in the resolution as well?
No,
No.
I
Okay,
just added it for your
okay,
reference.
that's fine. I mean, I see it here, but I just didn't know if it needed to be in the ordinance.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
I'll entertain, okay, so I have a move. See that? Somebody made a move. I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, questions or comments? Can we do all in favor on this one? Or do I get a roll call? Roll call, please.
Ms. Palastrellini?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Fodor?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Matt?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Lyons.
Please ask your consideration of a motion to authorize staff to bind coverage for workers' compensation and business packages insurance. There is an agenda supplement from Ms. Lyons on page 33 of the packet. You'll see that most of the increases range from around 12 to 14%. If you have questions, Ms. Lyons is certainly willing to answer them.
So I distributed the information to you. The important stuff is on page 2 with respect to the dollars. Overall, commercial or governmental insurance policies have seen increases over the last several years. There are 4.
Nothing on page 2.
It's not in the packet, so page 33 is actually.
Oh, it's the agenda
Service area.
supplement that was delivered.
Oh.
Sorry.
In the supplemental version that I. There are 4 reasons that are called out on page 1 with respect to that. I do want to point out a couple things in the chart to compare last year to this year. The cyber has actually increased this year. It went down. Last year, the chart included the amount $5,496, and we brought that back. So you'll recall we actually approved the cyber piece in January last year after we got a better quote. Workers' comp is an estimated premium. We are audited every year following the end of the calendar year to true up the premiums based on our actual wages, overtime, and all earning compensation. So it's my recommendation that we approve binding coverages on a motion here, and this coverage begins December 31st, runs through December 31st, 2025. Do you have any questions?
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the motion to bind coverage for motion for workers' compensation. I'll make the.
Second.
Sorry. Long day. I got first and second, questions or comments? We'll call vote, please.
Mr. Robinson?
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Matt?
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Oh, man, I can't tell you how excited I am to talk about the next subject.
This is an easy one. Actually, items E and F kind of go together in the same agenda supplement. This is on page 33 of your packet. So this is speaking of what I term infrastructure SSAs or SBAs, special benefit areas, as the county terms them. The village issued bonds on behalf of the developer back in the day for both Tuscany Woods and Lakewood Crossings. These bonds have been refunded, and so therefore there is savings on maximum amounts that could be levied based on the performance of the SSAs, people paying their taxes, and the savings due to refunding. So I'll call out the first chart for SSA number 13, Tuscany Woods. We are abating between $661.24 and $529.14, depending on the type of home, single family, duplex, or townhome. So we're saving, or you are saving the residents that amount over the maximum tax that was determined when the bonds were issued. So that's that one. And then there is a special report completed by David Taustick and Associates in your packet. It will tell you that there are no unpaid taxes for last year for the collections for 2024, which is great. And then we have Lakewood Crossings, SSA number 14, also an infrastructure SSA where you are evading $660 $636.96 for a single family home and $390.82 for a. Again, another administrative report prepared by David Tausig with no outstanding taxes on it this time.
Okay. Thank you. These are two separate resolutions, so we'll take two separate votes on them. I will entertain a motion approving a resolution approving the 2024 administrative report for SSA 13.
So moved. Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I did that just to get under her skin.
It's money though.
No,
It's money we do a little.
Yeah.
no, it is money. We have to do a roll call.
This is just the administrative report.
No, this is the report. Aha. This is approving the, I knew I got it.
Vote away.
All right. See, but I like looking at his face every time I call for a voice vote. All right, so the next. Sit.
Mine for mine.
I'll approve I'll entertain a motion to approving the, let me start over. I'll entertain a motion approving this resolution, approving the administrative report for SSA 14.
Sorry.
No worries. Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Next one's tax levy. I'll call it roll.
Please.
Not spending money.
Right.
Just collect.
This is the levy.
This is debating. This is actually debating.
That's your wrong. You go to jail.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so next is the actual ordinance abating the taxes. So, I'll entertain a motion approving the ordinance abating the special taxes levied for the 2024 tax year for SSA 13.
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments? All, roll call vote, please.
I apologize. What number, whatever you want.
Reggie,
I just want to make sure.
we've been here a long time, I understand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And your first and second assumed?
Who first, who
Me.
second?
Laura.
Laura, first, second was?
Is that me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I forgot.
Great.
That's fine. Thank
See,
you.
we're all in the same boat. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Mr. Kelly.
All right.
Mr. Coe.
No,
Mr. Mott.
I was gonna say no.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palestrini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
And Ms. Fodor. Motion passes.
Okay, now I'm gonna entertain a motion for approving the ordinance abating the special taxes for 2024 for SSA 14, which is letter H on your agenda.
So moved.
I want a motion. Oh, okay, we got it first.
Second.
Okay, great. Can I have a roll call now?
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palestrini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
All right.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
And Mr. Kelly.
All right.
Motion passes 6-0.
Finally, letter number I here on the agenda is an ordinance abating the taxes levied for the 2024 tax year.
Ain't that his job?
No.
We agreed that he was carrying this portion of.
Oh.
Ms. Lyons will discuss it.
So, do you have anything you'd like to add for this?
Just that, we do not, levy a tax to pay our bonds. We have sufficient municipal utility tax on hand to make those payments. That is the alternate revenue source. And so therefore, these taxes are being abated.
Any questions for Ms. Lyons? I will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance abating the taxes levied for the 2024 tax year on the debt service, general obligation refunding bonds.
So moved. Second.
Laura and Heather. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palestrini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
All right.
And Mr. Coe.
Bye.
Motion passes 6-0.
I will note one thing, sorry, I should have mentioned this. The ordinance actually begins on page 219, and when I compiled my portion of the packet, I pulled the 2023 resolution rather than the 2024. That's been corrected with the clerk, so we're all good.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Mark? The public hearing, do I need to call for a roll or vote to open the public hearing? I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the corporate tax levy for the year 2024.
So moved.
Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Right.
Mr. Cole,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
All right, welcome. We're in the public hearing now. Ms. Lyons.
All right, so you do have, this presentation, on your desk, evenings. We'll just go over this rather quickly. A month ago, at this time, we met and you determined, a rate for or the dollar amount for the levy, and so we've already kind of discussed all of this. But again, with respect to general fund revenues, the blue piece of the pie in the chart is approximately 21.25% of the village's general fund revenues. I have excluded grant funds, transfers, and any debt that's, being reported as quote revenue in the general fund. So it is a large portion of the village's funding. And our favorite $1, this actually has an error in it. It should say, based on taxes collected in 2024, the village receives 5.73 cents for every dollar received from your tax bill.
This is my favorite.
Can we post that on social media?
Oh, yes.
Sure thing, just a
Dollar.
So the final amount of the levy and the related tax rate will be subject to PTEL. This year, we were PTEL, if you will, in the sense that the village can only levy the lesser of 5% or the consumer price index, which was 3.14% for 2023. And so we're only able to collect 3.4% normally, in the sense that we do have new construction, so we'll be able to capture some of that. The 2024 levy calculation includes the CPI factor, a multiplier. It is based on your equalized assessed valuation, the prior year extension, and then the new construction, both residential, commercial, industrial, and even farming, that happens within the village limits. If we were to use a two-factor calculation, we would take the extension that was granted to the village in 2023 and multiply that by the lesser of the 5% or 3.4 in this case, which would yield $47,470 extra dollars. We actually expect, I've reduced my estimate on this, so I was over $100,000 when we talked about this a month ago. But I believe that the expected additional revenue based on new construction this year will be about $94,000. The levy request is 15% over last year's levy extension. But we are we're expecting less than 15% to actually be levied. I'd like to point to the chart regarding our levy requests. Last year, our certified rate is 0.44743. And this year, I expect it actually to go down. What's that?
The binoculars.
Well, it's in it's printed out so that you can see it. You're on the wrong printout. So, we were not in the colored SSA section. Yes, public hearing for the third levy.
I was.
Yeah.
Fine.
So what will happen to my tax bill? I use a $300,000 estimated market value home here. As I mentioned, the tax rate last year was 0.44743%, and I estimate based on the EAVs that were published at the end of September 2024, based on the EAVs and the new construction that was posted, that the tax rate will go down to 0.41343. And therefore, it will save approximately $36 on your tax bill. That assumes that your home value did not change. And even though all home values have increased this year, they're not necessarily proportionate. So in some cases, the assessor may have determined that, like if 5%, your increase was 5%, your neighbors might be 3%, just depending on how they determine the value of each individual home. And so this is just a picture of some pennies to remind us that we're only collecting a few 5.73 cents for every dollar.
Where's the 0.73?
And that's why one of the penny, or a couple of the pennies are covered. Not whole pennies there.
It's measured carefully.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons.
Yes.
Any questions for Ms. Lyons about the corporate tax levy?
Yeah, Ms. Lyons, can you go to slide 10, please?
Yes.
One more.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yes.
Can you walk us through why in this 2024 tax levy, the majority of the increase, back like 70% of the increase goes to police protection and some of the others are actually going down?
So it's kind of a discretionary number. So we like to fit everything into the buckets. So there are two areas that are limited as to the taxes, the corporate levy and the police protection. Police protection is by far our largest expenditure of general fund monies. And quite honestly, we don't have a levy for the police pension fund, which is a large percentage of this. So I always say that it's discretionary funds, which in the general fund are used to fund the police pension fund. And this more accurately shows that expenditure. I felt like that this was a more appropriate way to say it. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, on page 10.
Yes.
Third column.
There it comes.
Is that really the 2033?
Oh, sorry, 20. No,
Okay.
that would be 2023.
I just didn't know if we actually had numbers that far out. So,
No.
okay, just checking. Thank you.
So we won't have a certified rate for 2024 until the spring when all the EAV is finalized, all of the new construction values are finalized for 2024. And then it's the county clerk's office that's responsible for certifying the rate after applying the PTEL calculation.
So it's generally behind
Yes,
the calendar, not ahead.
that's correct. And in fact, it gets very, very confusing, right? So you pay your taxes in arrears. So this is the 2024 levy, which is based on 2024 information. It's for our fiscal year 26. It gets very confusing.
You have to know what you had so that we know how much you owe, so we can fund what we plan to spend.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That's a person.
Could you post that on social media? please?
Yeah.
You'll have to play it back, because I don't know what I said.
But it was good.
That was good.
And as we've talked about in the past, it's always best to have the levy more than we're really expecting, simply because if some of those numbers change, we can never go back and capture any missing pieces, basically.
Any other questions for Ms. Lyons? I'll entertain a motion approving the annual corporate tax levy for.
We're in a hearing.
We're still in public hearing.
We have to close the hearing?
I guess we got to close the hearing first.
You might want to take a motion or roll call.
Roll call, you sure?
If you want to.
All right, that'd be great. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. We'll go back into open session.
Second.
I'll take a roll call vote.
I heard it too. I said, you know,
One.
what was the one?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
I seconded.
I did have that.
I voted aye.
Okay. Hey, we'll start with Mr. Robinson. Ms. Fodor, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Alcohol.
Ms. Palestrina. Motion passes.
All right, on the public hearing, now I'll entertain a motion approving the annual corporate tax levy for the year 2024.
Do you need a motion?
Somebody's waiting for it.
I
So moved.
will second.
A single member of the public here tonight.
They can watch it on video.
All right, so we have a first and a second. First and second, can I have roll call vote, please?
Ms. Palestrina.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor. Aye. Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Matt. Motion passes 6-0.
Ms. Lyons, you happen to be up again. Are you ready for your next presentation? Not yet.
So, this is in the other packet, presentation information, reference. Distributed. For the meeting. This is just a brief presentation. We're gonna go over, SSA's number 7 and 10 that I completely screwed up last time, so. But we will start from the top and go in sequential order. So the village does have, 30 special service areas at this time. Again, some abolished, due to, them being completed. Others reserved for and not used. Blue ones are the ones we're going to go over right now. SSA number 13 and 14 are highlighted. You've abated the taxes and went over the administrative reports for those two earlier this year. Again, here's our map. And, so just a reminder, it's Lori's term calling them maintenance SSAs because I think we understand what that is. This is an ad valorem tax, meaning according to value. And when the amount of the SSA is levied, the amount assessed to each property is proportionately shared, by all the taxable properties within the boundaries of the special service area. This is just a summary of the chart that was in your agenda supplement with respect to the SSAs. Last year, our total levy was $55,830. This year, the proposed amount is $58,675. And we'll go through them individually. Again, microscopic, for those watching the screen, but, in better sized, proportion to, on your, I guess this is really bad because I'm not doing the slideshow.
We all have
It's
it
gonna
right
make it a little bit bigger even. Okay.
here. Can't see it, so
Sorry about
we all
that.
have it
Yeah,
right here.
okay. So this year we propose, making the levy the exact same as last year, $1,800. This is SSA number 2, in Old Mill Manor. Are there any questions with respect to that?
Next.
Okay.
Thank you.
The levy amount didn't change. There must have been, an uncollected amount because we did not receive quite $1,800 last year, if you're looking at the FY25 column. With respect to SSA number 3, this covers an area on Panama. We are looking at $300, which is again, the exact same amount as levied last year. This SSA has, quite a bit of fund balance, so we're kind of spending down, on that particular amount at this time. SSA number 6,
Can I ask a question on this?
Certainly. Yes.
It is on the map, it's a really tiny area. Where does that dump into? Like, what is being maintained in 3? Is there its own detention pond?
There's not a pond per se. It's not a detention area. It is a detention area, not a retention area. It's a grassy knoll that is mowed by the village, that is for, detention area. There's a lot there.
Not typically wet.
Correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I just, because you had said we're not really utilizing the funds of the balance, so we're just trying to spend down the balance to keep it. It sounds like it's just mowing.
All we do is.
It is just mowing. Yeah, it's not, it literally is a grassy area.
Just like next door to you, I think, Laura, right?
It's like a big couple, 2 lots that just don't have anything built on it, but yeah.
It's dipped down to hold water and slowly release. If there's a large volume of rainfall.
It's not really on the map. Because I see SSA. And this would be just north of it and it's all black.
So I think if you can see,
Oh, okay,
there's
it's
like a little tiny pink
Okay,
area.
that's it.
It's.
I'm looking at this one and it's really, okay. That's a good one. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about number 3? And then number 6.
Number 6 is Hampshire Prairie. Again, we are requesting $6,000, a no change to, the levy. This again has, a significant fund balance, so, we will, we will be spending down on this and eventually, be looking at, inflationary increases in the future. We project to keep it the same probably next year as well.
Any questions for number 6? Number 7?
Okay, SSA number 7 is the Hampshire Hills subdivision. This particular area, is kind of a distressed SSA, I would call it. You will recall that it contains a large area that, was completely unmaintained, as well as a smaller area within the subdivision. The large area is to the south of the actual subdivision. So we are increasing this one by 7.5%. And it has seen a substantial increase over the last few years. But we're kind of building ourselves up for a large expenditure in burning. We did some significant machine clearing and especially in FY23. And now we've brought the spraying in-house, which has really helped. Those are the red boxes that would have been projected out further, but because that's been brought in-house, we no longer are. We're including those in the expenditure line items rather than something that's spraying that's done by a third party.
Any questions about number 7? Number 8.
Number 8 is Hampshire Fields. This one again, we propose no increase. This SSA has a decent fund balance, and we're estimating the expenditures on each of these. It depends on, if we have a really great summer with lots of heat and rain, sometimes we expend more than anticipated, but we are projecting that it will be sufficient to have a $2,500 levy for this year.
Okay, any questions for number 8? On to number 10.
All right, number 10 is our favorite White Oak Ponds. This SSA is doing much better. We've done a lot of spraying, a lot of burning, and I propose an 8% increase this year. I feel like we're really getting this one under control, and probably maybe next year not have to increase at all. And then we also hope to relieve the pressure on some of the homeowners here by adding some properties into this particular SSA, which we will bring to you before this time next year.
Whose opinion is it that it's under control? Is that the Public Works or is that?
So yes, I mean,
okay.
we're on a really good schedule. We are going to burn every 2 years. We don't believe we'll have to do, any machine clearing or anything like that. In FY21, we spent a large sum of money getting a lot of scrubby trees and other invasive species removed from the areas, and we're on a very good schedule, I would say. So we've got we're burning 3 units this year before the end of this year, and then we're going to be burning another unit in FY '26. So we're gonna stay on schedule with that.
Any questions about number 10? On to number 11.
SSA number 11 is Hampshire Highlands. They have, 2 ponds within their boundaries. And, we're looking at a 5% increase, for this one. This one has a lot of grassy areas that, are mowed by, the village. And we do anticipate burning, next fiscal year, the large pond at I'll call it the southern end of the southern boundaries of the subdivision.
Any questions for number 11? On to number 12.
The next one is SSA number 12, Hampshire Meadows. This one I also am proposing a 5% increase. Last year we decreased, and then fund balance went down enough that I felt like we just needed a little bit of an increase this particular year to keep things on track.
Any questions for number 12? Any questions about SSA's in general?
I have a question. When it says pond maintenance and then it says fertilize, what are we fertilizing?
So we actually are fertilizing the good species to encourage the growth of good plants.
In the water or not the grass?
Along the banks and in the grassy areas, yes. I mean, not all ponds have grassy areas, some are just ponds, but yes.
I was thinking specifically of 11 because that's the one I'm most familiar with. It has a large expanse of grass, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But so we're fertilizing the grass or we're fertilizing the edge plants that or both?
Both. So if you encourage the growth of the good plants, it kind of chokes out, if you will, the bad, the bad plants.
Mhm.
So yes, we're not getting bad things into the water. Like, I would say in the water itself, we use more of an aquicide, and we are able to do that in house as well to get rid of the invasive species that can take over inside the water.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're not like fertilizing in the plants in the water.
Okay. We're also not over fertilizing the grass area that will then run off.
Shed
into
off,
the ponds and
correct.
create.
They're very cognizant of that. Absolutely.
Just making
Yep.
sure.
That's being done in house.
I will entertain a motion to go into a public hearing for SSA number 7.
Second.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Matt?
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson? No. Ms. Fodor?
Aye.
Mr. Howard?
All right.
Welcome to the public hearing on SSA number 7. Ms. Lyons.
I lost my mouse here. Hang on. Literally lost a mouse.
Nobody likes to lose their mouse.
No, we don't like.
I could turn it on. Furby is my son's elf on a shelf, and last night he caught a mouse in the house. I woke up this morning to find a computer mouse under a calendar with a note from Furby.
Where was it? Was it on the shelf? Or
No, he was sitting on the dining room table this morning,
Oh,
but my son found it very funny that Hermie the elf found a mouse.
Okay.
Did I buy enough time for you, Ms. Lyons? Perfect.
Thank you. I'm using a trackpad, not a mouse, so it's like, where is that?
I get it.
Okay, so this is, SSA number 7, Hampshire Hills. There are 2, stormwater facilities within the subdivision. 7-1 is an expansive area, shown here that, went through some extensive machine clearing, as we discussed just a second ago. And then 7-2 is a smaller area. The major works that have been completed include machine and hand clearing of invasive brush and small trees throughout the buffer, and also burning. This special service area, will begin is estimated to begin FY 25. Or it began FY 25 with a negative fund balance. Our tax collections this year were $8,742 with expenses of only $1,952, but leading to a fund balance expected at this year end of $6,131 in the deficit. We're asking for $9,675 in tax levy, which would get us to a positive fund balance. And we are building this fund balance because we will have to do a major burn of that area number 1, which is estimated to cost us approximately $10,000.
Why is that burn so much more than another burn?
It has to do with the square footage. It's just a giant area.
You remember that was the area, one of them was right along the roadway there, everybody could see, and those of you that have been around a little while, remember, we finally decided that we were gonna do some maintenance in that place and cut down all the trees, and everybody were mad that we were in there cutting down the forest. It had been so long.
That was, number 10.
Yeah.
That was,
There was the same reaction here as well.
oh, there was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Anyhow.
I think it was almost to the next level compared to yours. It was a lot.
Any questions for the public hearing on SSA number 7? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Put your head down on your desk, put your thumb up in the air. It's up, so.
Yeah. Mott. Mr. Mott,
Aye.
Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Fodor, Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Post. You.
I will entertain a motion to go into a public hearing for SSA number 7 or number 10.
Taking it.
I have a first and a second from Heather and Lionel. Oh, mechanical pencil. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor, Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Aye.
Post. Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Welcome to the public hearing. Hopefully, Ms. Lyons found her mouse. Oh, good, look, it's up on the screen. SSA number 10. Let's do this.
All right.
Thanks.
Special service area number 10, White Oak Ponds, contains 4 retention areas totaling 33.85 acres. 2.75 acres of that area is mowed, and then the rest is subject to burning and other means to keep it clean. It includes 173 parcels. There are actually additional parcels in the property, but there are individuals in this subdivision that have property tax exemption. So there is an 11-2 and 11-1. Those actually belong to Hampshire Highlands. But the four ponds identified 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, and 10-4 are the ones within the White Oak Pond Special Service Area. The major work that's been completed is again selective machine and hand clearing of invasive squash and small trees throughout the buffer, herbicide applications, and burning. The FY 25 fund balance started out as a negative $8,089. Tax collected was $18,942, and expenses are estimated to end the year at $9,739, yielding a positive fund balance of $614. In FY 26, we're asking for the levy to be $21,500 with estimated expenses of $7,900. We are building some fund balance, however, to burn some additional areas in that special service area. So that's why we're looking at a significant positive number entry FY 27.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and go back into open session.
Second.
Questions, comments? We'll call vote, please.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
All right.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
For the board's information, I will be traversing through the next portion of this agenda as per a conversation I had with Mr. Hedges previous to the agenda starting. So, first up, we have a ordinance for approval for levy and assessment for SSA number 2. I'll entertain a motion approving that.
Move.
Second.
Questions or comments? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll,
Mr.
please?
Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
And Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Motion is.
Next, we have an ordinance for SSA number 3. I'll entertain a motion approving. So I have a first and a second. Okay,
Who's the first?
right, and Mr. Robinson
Thank you. Right.
and Mr. Mott. And after that, any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Nope.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
And Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion is 5-1.
Okay, next we have a ordinance for approval for SSA number 6. I'll entertain a motion approving the ordinance. Questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1.
Next is for SSA number 7. I have an ordinance approving the levy and assessment for SSA number 7. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
And Mr. Kelly.
No.
Motion passes 5-1.
Next we have an SSA, ordinance for SSA number 8. I'll entertain a motion approving the ordinance.
Going.
I need someone to do it. Second. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor. Aye. Mr. Kelly.
No.
And Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1.
Okay. Number 10 is next, an SSA, an ordinance approving the SSA for number 10, or the levy for number 10. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance. Okay, we have first.
Second.
Thank you.
I'm just entertaining a motion to vote on it. It's on my vote.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
No.
Mrs. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
No.
Mr. Cole.
No.
And Mr. Matt.
Aye.
It's a 3-3 vote. Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Fred, just a question. What would happen if it was a no?
That'd be a problem.
Okay.
Is that a legal analysis?
It revert back to natural, which is close to what it is.
Okay. Just curious.
That's simple.
I know more than they do.
I wouldn't be that simple.
You're practically an attorney.
Or you mow more than they do.
Yes.
Well,
In the center street, you said.
All right, next up, number 11. We have an ordinance approving the levy and special assessment for SSA number 11. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mrs. Fodor.
abstain.
Mr. Kelly,
No.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
And Ms. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Well, that's 4 yes, 1 abstain, and 1 no. Motion passes.
Yeah, the abstination goes with the yeses.
Thank you.
Got it, Mikey? Yeah.
Got her Nike. That one comment.
That one comment.
That one comment.
Happy New Year, right?
Okay, number 12, we have an ordinance approving the levy and assessment for SSA number 12. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Fodor. Mr. Kelly
Stay.
and Mr. Coe.
No.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
and Mr. Robinson.
No.
Motion passes 4-2.
All right. Next.
I'm sorry, I have a question on that. How does my abstain count as a yes vote?
The abstentions go with the affirmative. So in the state of Illinois, if it's an ordinance, you have to vote no if you want it to fail. Otherwise, all abstentions go in accordance with that.
Then an abstain is a no vote.
Nope. It is not a case law in the state of Illinois.
Is there a difference between abstaining and voting present?
It's really not a thing. You abstain. You have yes, no, you're absent, or you abstain. Voting present is an abstination under the eyes of the law.
What if you walk out of the room?
You. If you are walking out, trustee, right? If you walk out of the room, then you're absent. I mean, in this
The reason
circumstance,
why we ask is we've had other votes where there's an abstain and the vote has failed.
is, well, I don't recall those circumstances. I don't know if that was before my time or not. If the vote is a specific pecuniary interest for you, not a levy, right? Because then you would all be barred from voting on any tax levy, right? Like your overall general corporate levy that affects your personal issue. Then it flips, okay? I don't remember the circumstance, so it would be improper for me to comment on that. But the abstinations under section 3.1-1515 of the Illinois Municipal Code, the abstinations go under case law interpreting that the abstinations go with a yes for an ordinance. It has to be a no if you want it to fail.
So what happens if you miss a meeting and you abstain on the vote to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
You can always, excellent question. You can always vote on the minutes if you are not there. Common practices, you do not, but it's like a free parking rule in Monopoly. The real rule is that people always say I abstain on the minutes if you weren't there. You don't have to, you could vote on the minutes. I've had situations where we wouldn't have passed minutes because there was less of a quorum and somebody didn't show up the next time, and they would vote on the minutes to make sure it passes.
Thank you for the legal report. Now we'll move on to the police report.
Any questions?
So eloquent. I just wanted to make one comment with, on page 248. And just to comment that the fact that we've had that many domestic, was it, year to date? Domestic, I think it's a lot. It says 2 and 1, it's a 50% decrease from the
Domestic
previous month, but year to date is 28 domestic violence cases. And last year was 9. So it is a significant increase. I just wanted to bring that to life.
More bars, more people.
That's all. That's all I know.
The one thing I will say is on the issue with our digital ticketing, I can give a brief update on that. We don't have it approved yet. We're not sure, but at this point, it's along with 2 other municipalities in Kane County, we are pushing with the vendor, and we're making progress, significant progress, but there's like higher ups, we've escalated it. It's become urgent for them now to get that taken care of. So I'm anticipating. But the good news is that I would say that our team, so Jim and Gina, for the most part, once we get this done, they'll be the first of the group of agencies that are trying to get approved right now will be the first ones approved, and then our template will be used countywide. So they really worked through a lot of the detail on that and done a great job of that. So there's a lot more to the story, but that's the bottom line is it should be approved soon, like I said before, but at least now it's escalated and they're really focusing on it.
And if it doesn't work, we're just SOL.
Yeah, well, I think it'll work. I mean,
because the warranty's over.
Yeah.
The warranty's over.
Okay, question to follow up that, for the domestic violence, can we now charge them with fighting? No, not kidding.
Under that circumstance, we determine a primary aggressor who would make a domestic battery request.
But when people decline to,
With domestic battery, doesn't matter.
okay,
We determine an aggressor, we make an arrest.
Okay.
So, yeah. That's one clear exception to state law.
You don't want fights.
It's actually a mandated arrest.
That's right. Oh. Any other questions for the chief? Sorry, going through some paperwork stuff. Next we have the streets report. Anything we want to talk about there? They're all covered in snow right now.
really not.
Maybe not. The plows are out.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they're gonna stay out. Is that snow right now?
Yeah, they go down at 7:30, so they'll probably be out to about.
Thank you very much for all your effort.
By the way, I got a nice text message from Mr. Starrett, who's very pleased with what you all passed for the snow ordinance. Thank you for that.
Live to make Mr. Starrett happy. Carl. He's gotten a lot of attention this year in general, so that's good. They need it over in Public Works. They needed that morale boost, so glad we could be a part of it, of the solution instead of being a part of the problem.
Anytime something comes up, they always have wait.
Yeah, they're pretty good about that. And the tree out front looks great with the box around the bottom.
And a couple more gifts I know showed up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Santa must have come back.
Next we have accounts payable personnel amount $448.19. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable personnel in the amount of $448.19.
So moved.
Second. Questions, comments, or concerns? Ms. Clerk, can you do what you did?
Mr. Kelly.
All right.
Mr. Curly.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Mr. Palestrini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
And Mrs. Blair.
Okay, next regular accounts payable, the last one of 2024, $692,365.02. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one. This Passarelli law for 12 Gs.
Yep.
Is that in our budget?
Well, no, probably not, but
I'm
We did,
asking the finance.
so we did actually, add, a significant amount for that particular purpose to. the
So
budget.
is he gonna keep doing this every month or is he slowly waning away now?
It depends on how much it costs. You've heard these cases in executive session, so.
I can just say, real briefly without detail, so that was preparation for an arbitration hearing. And which included on-site interviewing several people and preparing witnesses.
Gonna blow that the watcher? Has he hooked up your
No.
computer? Don't pay him. If
Okay,
he
well-
ain't hooking up like he's supposed to, the cameras to the squad cars, why are we paying him? Don't pay him till he finishes his job.
We'll hold the check, if that's okay.
well, yeah, we could authorize it, but just don't pay him until he's done. I also agree with that.
I agree too. I want to know my phone. Wait.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, on page 5, the Dynergy Energy Services. Remind me what that is.
So Dynergy is the company that the village uses for their supplier of electricity. We participate in the Henry County Purchasing Cooperative. What is it called? Not Northern Illinois Purchasing Cooperative. That we go out for bid on every 3 years. For our,
Yeah, so we have 28 meters that we're getting. Is that what this means? There's like 28 line items for
Oh,
one
we have-
energy bill.
Yeah, we have an incredible amount of accounts with ComEd. So most of our streetlights are on what they call a tower account, but every other facility has its own meter and its own, electric bill,
The
essentially.
electric sign over at the industrial park is a separate meter.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It just seemed like a lot of accounts.
Yeah, fortunately, we don't. For a while, they were adding new streetlights into new accounts, and I'm like, oh, no, we have way too many accounts to begin with. So now we have a tower account that has most of those streetlights in it.
Any other concerns?
Yeah, page 11,
11.
Henderson Products Upfit International and a spreader electric cable for 109,000.
Yeah, so you actually approved the upfit of the 2025.
25.
I think it's a 25 international that the village just received and is out on the roads tonight. So
We gotta say plow truck.
Oh, it's the spreader.
yeah, plow truck, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking, what was that? And
Yeah,
it's electric. Okay.
It's the
So you approved it, I believe at the last meeting, maybe the meeting before. and now
meeting.
We have the invoice and we're paying it.
And one more then is just below that is the traffic signal at 72 in Getzelman for
So-
Department of Transportation. So
Yes, so we have to pay the maintenance. The state actually hires a third party, as does the county, so you'll see those occasionally also to KDOT. Where we have to pay, it's a quarterly bill, and we pay to have a service come out to make sure that the lights are all illuminated and that, nothing needs to be repaired on the stoplight. And we share that 50-50 with the state because it's half our road, half their road.
okay, I thought it was maybe something from the construction and we still
No,
owed
so
something.
this is
Okay.
gonna be an ongoing, expense for the village.
Okay.
And it did increase slightly this quarter, so I think they're on a new contract.
I know, so the IRS.
Any other questions or concerns? It is a rather large amount, and this is the last time you'll be able to ask questions about the accounts payable this year. So
And thank you very much. We held this open to get some of these last minute things in, knowing that we weren't gonna have a meeting for a month, so. Thank you very much for that. Sorry.
no, it's great. All right. Motion to approve the regular accounts payable.
Second.
First and second. Questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Schultz,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
All right.
Trustee Kelly.
Yep.
You're
So
up.
I've got a 22-page report here. So the business did not meet.
We're pleased.
Did not mean.
Okay.
Got me 50 pages, I believe it.
Thank you very much. Any new business or other announcements? No.
I will say that the parade, Santa got a lot of backlash on the shortness of the parade. And I've asked other people, you were in the parade last year, or why did you do it this year? They said they're not gonna spend 2 hours decorating the vehicle for 4 blocks. Fire department was not happy with the shortness of the parade either. So for a Christmas parade, we might want to consider going down maybe Jake. And
Oh, shortness being distance short,
Distance.
not number of vehicles.
no, distance, 4 or 5 blocks or whatever it was.
Okay.
People don't want to decorate their vehicles for a 15-minute parade.
Aye.
Might even be less than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I've videoed it, and I think it was 4 minutes and
Yes.
Same as Coon Creek.
48
No.
seconds.
Same route.
Because
So
of,
why is the Coon Creek parade okay and this one's not?
Well, it takes.
Because the Coon Creek Parade has 100 floats.
Well, that's.
and a lot of
the problem
action
was
going.
We didn't have participation.
The problem, honestly.
Wait, how many did we have like compared to last year?
Well, it wasn't as big as the first few years.
Like half as much.
So like last year, I think we probably had, I can look at the numbers, but last year I would say we had 30 confirmed and we probably had 40 cars. This year, from what I saw, I mean, we didn't have near that.
We had about 15 or so.
And so, I mean, but
Because nobody participate, that's why.
Nobody wants to decorate a
Yeah,
vehicle, Jay, for 15 minutes.
What they do for the Coon Creek.
No, but it's a, no.
Like they're in the parade for an hour.
Mr. Hedges.
They're in the parade line for an hour to get through.
Mr. Hedges.
Yes.
It takes a lot more to decorate the car at night because you gotta fix all the lights and the blow up and all this other stuff than it does for the day.
No, I get that, but I mean, you have to discuss this. The other thing which is going on is 4 of our surrounding communities also had their parade the same night.
Yeah.
That
I
was-
mean, there was a lot of factors against us this year, and I've heard that, and I've also heard from the Catholic Church that they were upset with us. They were more boisterous this year because, you know, we did it at 4:30 and mass starts at 5 o'clock. And so parishioners had a hard time getting into mass.
We have 3 masses over the weekend.
Okay.
So we could have.
Do you not understand how Catholics complain? I are one, I am Catholic.
Yeah.
I am Catholic, and I also, you guys all know me and know how much I like to complain, so, I mean, it fits.
My spouse is Catholic and Jewish, so yeah, I get the guilt thing, believe me. So, it's just,
Maybe next year we can think about maybe just do a tree lighting.
Yeah.
And
People are going to participate.
yeah, maybe, I mean, you could do some lighted vehicles that just surround the area. So, you know, so we have some lights besides the tree. But
I'm up
just
for anybody that would love to run it. So, and volunteer like everybody did this year. It was fantastic. There was a ton of help. I'm sorry I wasn't here. I heard you got your lightsaber. So, I mean,
The gator was going around.
right, so you got the gator, and so I appreciate that everybody jumped in to help out in my absence, and
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not opposed to brainstorming about how to make this a better or different event
Next year, right?
next year.
Brainstorm next
But
year.
we've got
We don't wanna do
time.
it next
I'm not doing it this year, on this calendar year, and
I think it's mean tonight.
yeah, so.
I thank everybody, my fellow trustees for stepping up too. I had walking pneumonia, so I couldn't come this time, so I just didn't blow it off. So
Oh, good.
I was sick.
want to wish everybody a lot of holidays. Hope they're all joyous.
Happy Honda days and December to remember and all the other
Yep.
holidays that are going on right
And
now.
Christmas and.
And Christmas and Hanukkah. and-
Fifth is kind of Hanukkah, so.
Big Honda.
Okay.
And the most important holiday is Sunday birthday on Monday. So,
And we'll celebrate New Year's before we get rid of it. So
and
all of them.
I want to say thank you to the staff and thank you to this board. We have accomplished some awesome things this year. It has been tough. And some of, you know, we've had to make some really tough and difficult decisions that impact our community in various different ways. But I know that this village is a better place because all of you are a part of it. So thank you for that. That goes for staff and elected officials. I know that meetings like this at 9:45, you know, it gets tough, but we do the work of the people and we do a good job, I feel, and I'm biased and we couldn't do that if we all didn't work together. So I appreciate it.
As long as we don't repeat the 2 a.m. one. Okay.
That's true. Any other comments? Okay, we are not going into executive session. But I just.
So disappointed.
Motion to.
Why were we supposed to?
Second.
No, I'm leaving.
All in favor?
All right.
Hi.
Opposed? Good night, guys.